We are live. Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
We have another very special episode for you. We have the 2005 movie War of the Worlds. Nathan, do you have a history of the War of the Worlds?
Well, this movie in particular, I saw it in theaters in
Oh, really?
2000.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember wanting to see this one, um, because I've always been a fan.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the 1950s one.
Yeah,
It was like G rated, so I could watch it, and I thought it was a cool concept of like, oh wait, we didn't we didn't beat the aliens.
yeah, really.
Like, oh, that's a different thinking for a 4-year-old. Like, I thought America just won everything.
Yeah.
Nope. um, yeah. Of course, there's the classic. Did you ever read the H.G. Wells novel?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
love
okay.
that.
I never read that. And then of course there's the famous. Um, now I'm forgetting his name. The guy who did the radio play of it and scared a
Oh,
bunch of people.
Orson Welles.
Yeah, Orson Welles. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the original War of the Worlds. I mean, the book was written in like 1896 or something. So
Huh.
that's a very old, and a lot of it is like a lot of the War of the Worlds. It's like because they change the story a lot from that, of course, because that would be weird to make a modern movie set in the 1890s. But the Darwinism and colonialism and all those that was like those were running themes
Yeah.
throughout that book. And oh, what was it? Yeah, just it was all about, yeah, War of the Worlds is written by H.G. Wells, was all like about natural selection and stuff like that, and also Victorian paranoia of continental Europe invading and conquering the British Isles, and which, as it turns out, 50 years later or so, it's like, yeah, it was kind of justified paranoia, but the world had completely changed by then.
So was the 1950s version? Was that just a Russian parable or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
1950s was changed to America, and it was communism.
Okay.
The aliens work together. That means they're communist. I'm not. It wasn't that on the nose, but it was always a lot of stuff from the 50s and 60s was always paranoia of outsiders and the others, which is like, yeah, that's War of the Worlds. That's
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like but their paranoia is justified. Uh,
Which I remember, like I think in the books they have the tripods, but in the '50s movie they're just floating saucer kind of things.
yeah,
And then they brought the tripods back here, but
yeah,
but there's been a lot of adaptations of the War of the Worlds. So,
yeah. There's been a couple of them. The floating the 1953 or 50, yeah, the 53 War of the Worlds, they actually were tripods, but they used like they walked on like it was
invisible legs.
stilts. Yeah, because it
Yeah,
was basically the special effects couldn't.
yeah,
There are mock-up models of actually those tripods from the 53 film with a mechanical carriage under them. It just didn't look good
yeah,
because you would have to do, I don't know, you'd be like stop motion back then, maybe.
yeah. Because there they just basically put them on strings and float them around. But I
Yeah,
mean, it's good for what it was. I did like the part where you see the force fields and it's just they put a dome glass around the things. Like, yeah, that still looks good, even though you know exactly what's going on there. It's just some playset.
yeah. The War of the Worlds in 1953 did a good job where it did good. I mean, it actually won all kinds of Academy Awards for special effects and stuff. But it was also good at those were scary aliens, because the head looked like a cobra. It had a weird sound when the weapon was spooling up. Like,
Yeah,
you knew it was like they really did a good job in the 50s,
yeah,
making, and the aliens looked weird as hell. Like they were
yeah,
truly aliens.
yeah. They had some weird like kaleidoscope eye thing going
Yeah.
on. So, um, but yeah, and there's some recent adaptations. Like there was a TV show in like 2019. I don't think it has any connection to this. I think it's just another retelling of War of the Worlds. But
Oh, is that the one with? Yeah, I tried to watch that. It's like the cure for insomnia. It's like the War of the Worlds is told by depressive people living in a bunch of depressed, like British and Danish people living in
Yeah.
a bunker or something. It's like,
It's
yeah,
got
this is interesting.
it's got Gabriel Byrne in it.
Yeah,
That's
Gabriel Byrne. Yeah,
that's the only name
he's
that I
Irish, not British. But.
recognize. I mean, he could be playing British, you know. Look at I can't remember his name, the '90s Bond guy.
Oh, Pierce
Yeah,
Bronson.
yeah. um,
Well, I mean, the guy, the most famous James Bond, Connery, was like really thick Scottish accent.
yeah,
To us, it didn't matter. So it's like it's all just
yeah.
generically
Oh, it's
cool.
some white foreigner that we accept because they
Yeah,
speak English.
yeah, cool. He has sex with women. He smokes cigarettes and punches guys. It's like he's
And everyone thinks his alcoholism is cool.
yeah. Hey, alcoholism is fun until you have to pay the emotional and physical tax.
Which, when you're on a government job, that's the government's job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out. Oh, I don't even think I wrote. I probably didn't put the right date down, so we'll look at it now. I think it was a summer movie.
Yeah,
It's a
June
Spielberg.
23rd in the
June 29th, United States. That's
yeah,
what I
United
have.
States, and then July everywhere else in the world.
Which I did not see this in theaters because this got pretty bad reviews. And then I watched
Yeah.
it and I thought it was pretty good. Although watching it now, I can probably understand the direct 9/11 parable might have been like cloying to them. So it's like, nah, but it seems fine for this movie. There's a lot of imagery in this movie I think is amazing. So
Yeah, this movie is a movie. It's not quite.
it's not a completely good movie, but I thought it was better than what people were saying it was.
Yeah, it's not a what would you call it? It's not Event Horizon, where it's like only half of it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it really about 75% of it's cool, and then 25% of it like, did somebody else write and direct the last third of this movie? What's going on here? It got really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it was directed by Steve. This is basically like the team coming back from Minority Report.
Yes.
And also it makes sense to have Steven Spielberg direct this because there's a lot of. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but it seems like they're kind of like they're drawing parallels between this and Close Encounters of the Third Kind in some ways.
This was like Spielberg said. So I watched a lot of stuff they were talking about. He finally wanted to make an evil aliens movie.
Yeah.
He made Close Encounters, which I mean, as far as you know, they're good. You don't know what happens when that.
Yeah,
ship...
it's actually like it's not. It's we watched it. It's like this isn't the happy end. This isn't necessarily a happy ending. So.
Like they could turn that ship off, and they're like, "All right," or the ship goes up into space, and it's waving, and they're like, "Get the dissection machines out." You don't know.
They bought the facade.
Now, E.T. was like that was pretty cool. That was straightforward.
Yeah.
But this was the first evil aliens, and it was based on strong source material. So I had some pretty high hopes, considering who all was involved. But then I didn't realize it's like, well, they filmed it all pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's the actual filming of it and the storying and everything like that went by pretty quick. The special effects took a while, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that Spielberg thing is he shoots movies pretty quickly. But yeah, it was written by two people. It was an and, not an ampersand, so they wrote separately. So that might be what's going on here. The first guy listed, which I imagine is the first writer, is Josh Friedman, who has some good stuff to his name, but a lot of bad stuff too. So, his first story credit's Chain Reaction, which I remember people liking that movie, but then also people said it sucks. So I don't know. Maybe.
It's kind of an odd. It's sort of a good bad movie.
Yeah.
It's like this is on in the background. I'll watch this.
And they did War of the Worlds here. They did Black Dahlia, which basically ruined Brian De Palma's career.
Yeah, it's kind of ignominious end.
Then he wrote for the Terminator television series,
which I kind of liked.
Yeah, I hear good things about it, but then I think I only got a season and a half, and then it was canceled. So.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't. You didn't. It's one of those things that was kind of like a lot of TV shows. Like, this is really cool. Were they ever going to end this satisfactorily? No. Well, it's probably good. It's gone then.
He did write Terminator Dark Fate, which I thought was all right for a Terminator movie, especially better than the previous one, the Genesis one, or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
He wrote Avatar: The Way of the Water, which is the Avatar sequel, which I don't know, I guess that's fine actually. That's a movie where like I don't care about the story at all. You just want to see the visuals.
Yeah.
It still makes him $2 billion, so I guess it doesn't matter. He created and wrote on the Foundation television series. He wrote Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is the latest Apes movie, which I liked. But also I can see people not liking it because it's mostly just all almost 100% apes movie. So,
Yeah.
but then the surprising part is like, oh, humans are kind of back, not really, but kind of. And then he worked on the Snowpiercer television series, but not the movie. That's that's Josh Friedman. Now his counterpart here is David Koepp, who is like the it guy around this time for writing screenplays.
Okay.
He has a lot of big stuff to his name. Like he works with De Palma and Spielberg a lot.
I know he was the guy that made like. Did he win for Jurassic Park for writing it?
Maybe, yeah, he wrote Jurassic Park, so yeah, he might have won for best adaptation because
Yeah.
that seems to be like almost the easiest category at the Oscars to win. It's like, yeah, just don't screw up the source material. Here's your Oscar.
Yeah. Good job.
You wrote Carlito's Way, which I think is a good movie. I always confuse, and I've never seen either. I confuse Carlito's Way and Serpico, and I don't know the plot of either movie. They just have similar covers. I believe Serpico is a Sidney Lumet movie, and then Carlito's Way is a Brian De Palma movie. So,
Oh, okay.
he wrote Mission Impossible, so there he works with Tom Cruise. He wrote the Jurassic Park sequel. They started letting him direct movies, so he did like a movie Stir Echoes. We wrote and directed that. Then he did like a string of movies. We got Panic Room here and Spider-Man, which those were just gigantic movies. He wrote and directed Secret Window, which was all right. I didn't really care for it that much. He kind of trailed off a bit. He wrote both the Indiana Jones sequels, like Kingdom of Crystal Skull and the whatever that time one is recently.
Like Isle of Destiny.
Yeah.
Okay.
He also wrote the 2 sequels to the Da Vinci Code movies.
Oh,
The
okay.
Angel Demons and Inferno. He wrote both those. He did the Mummy, like the failed Mummy one with Tom Cruise. He wrote that.
Oh, that was ambitious, but ultimately bad.
And now it seems like he's kind of working with Steven Soderbergh, making kind of weird, kind of like thrillers and horror movies. So that's what he's doing now. But he used to be like the guy. Like he probably got, like, I don't know what movies he wrote. He probably has way more than what's shown on his IM Internet Movie Database. He got probably paid a lot to work on a lot of different things around this time because, so that's probably, yeah, if there's probably something weird here, like either David fixed it or made it worse, and you have no idea. But he's can be a good writer and also terrible. So,
Well, the way it was explained to me was they wanted J.J. Abrams. That's who Spielberg wanted, but he was working on some little show called Lost, so he didn't have time. So they had Josh Friedman do it first, and then David Koepp was the guy that Spielberg was always his go-to guy, and it was like change these elements in it. He kind of gave an outline like, I generally like this script, but change these elements. So that's how it was explained to me.
That makes sense, yeah. And of course, if it's a Spielberg production, it's just fast and loose. So.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And expensive. So. I mean, one thing this movie does great is like, what is this, a PG-13 movie or is it like?
I believe so.
Okay, it's great. It's great at portraying violence as much as they can in a PG-13 movie. Like,
well, I know they had to because there was a new status they had just post 9/11. You couldn't show like, like the Statue of Liberty being destroyed and get a PG-13 rating. So I know that there was a lot of like, well, this is a very focused script that just followed a family around the backwoods of like New Jersey, Connecticut, and
New York,
Massachusetts. Yeah.
and Boston. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I know that there was yeah, they did as much as they could and get a PG-13 rating.
Um,
Which they communicated dread in this a lot more effectively through sound.
oh yeah,
It was
this
the
sound of
first
this movie is
sound dread
amazing.
movies I can remember in a while. It's like, yeah, just the sound of these things is bad enough.
Cinematographer is Janusz Kaminski, which we talked about him before. He did, Minority Report, and we've brought him up several times.
Yeah,
And of course, the cast is Tom Cruise, which is our third Tom Cruise movie in like 4 movies, which was unintentional. It's just like I kind of pick these movies as stuff that we end up talking about a lot, and this movie ends up just incidentally coming up a lot in stuff we talk about, even though it wasn't necessarily like this isn't a movie that everyone has touchstones on, but we do, so I threw it in here. So, and it's also sci-fi, so we usually
yeah.
find ways to talk way too much about sci-fi.
I think this is the last time Tom Cruise and Spielberg worked together too.
Yeah, yeah.
There was some kind of split there over.
Well, I mean, after this, he pretty much just like, well, he did like Last Samurai, and he kind of like slummed around, and then he just kind of went full force on the Mission Impossible franchise because he owns it. So,
Yeah,
because I think he actually like owns like United Artists, and like he owns like a portion of Paramount, like so like he's like fully invested in that stuff. So,
yeah,
um, I mean, eventually he ended up working with J.J. Abrams with Mission Impossible 3. So,
yeah.
which that's one of our. I think that's actually like the least successful Mission Impossible movie, but it's one of our favorites.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Because there's just so many odd choices that I think work out. Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
have your villain be a kind of like schlubby, um, um, Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's gonna be
yeah.
really evil and stuff.
Truly evil because he tells you, doesn't just threaten you. It's like, I'm going to do awful things and I can follow through with it. That's why you guys are chasing me around. So I'm going to figure out who you are and I'm going to hurt people you care about. Just know that. And he does, and it works.
Yeah. That was before we knew that basically J.J. Abrams was a complete like sham of, of a producer, director, and writer. So. I mean, he can do good things. He's just really bad with follow through. But
Yeah, I mean, he's done some things that like, he was such an heir apparent to Spielberg for so long.
Yeah.
And then he made so many choices. It's like, that's odd. Why are you doing that? It's
well, if M. Night Shyamalan's career is completely based on third acts, J.J. Abrams is like first acts, like A plus first acts, and then not so good on everything else.
I mean, those two should co-direct the movie. I'll do the front, you take the back.
And then oh yeah, Tom Cruise, Dakota Fanning, who was like kind of like her and Haley Joel Osment were like the kids of Hollywood around this time.
Yeah.
It's like, we need a smart kid. It's like, here's one. It's like, all right. And then Tim Robbins, who shows up later on, but is effective in his role. Yeah, so we got Act 1. We got an eerie humming music, and then we got to look at microorganisms, which that'll be important for the end of the movie. We're going to have a pull out, and then we're going to have a zoom in at the end, the ultimate zoom in at the end of the movie. We pull out of a drop of water on a leaf. We get a Morgan Freeman voiceover, because, why not?
Yeah.
What was he famous? Was it the Penguin movie? Like the what was that? Is the March of the Penguins? Was he the voiceover for that?
I think so.
Because that was the documentary about penguins that he voiced over. But he's done voiceovers of tons of things, but I feel like that was the first big one where like he basically narrated an entire movie. So
you might be onto something there.
But he's a great voice guy, so you get him for a bunch of stuff. I think he's even like God and Bruce Almighty and stuff like that. I think he also did a voiceover there, but yeah, it's not uncommon.
It was him and the guy who did Darth Vader's voice.
Oh, James Earl Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those are the guys you go to, and then before that you had like Orson Welles
Yeah.
did over.
Yeah, was it Transformers that he did voiceover? Or no, he was like a character in Transformers. I can't remember, but
Yeah, I believe he was. Yeah, he was a character. The Transformers, the movie,
yeah.
greatest movie concept ever. Let's kill all the characters these kids love.
Yeah.
What could go wrong? It's like, well,
Yeah, well, I mean the whole I think they did the same thing in the GI Joe movie because like we want to sell new toys, so we got to kill off all the old ones. So, which I actually don't know how that worked out. Like it might have actually worked out, but it feels like that people had misgivings with that. So,
oh, I think Transformers really that did not work out
oh, okay,
because I think there was a lot of like
backlash.
yeah, people were not have brought their kids to that. It's like, yeah, all the characters you love just died horribly, shot to pieces.
I mean, I think they brought Optimus Prime back to life, anyways, just for like because
yeah, they did for the TV
yeah.
series.
Yeah, which I was young enough for, but like somehow I basically missed Transformers.
Oh, I used to love.
I don't know where they aired it, but it wasn't airing where I was watching stuff, so I just kind of missed all of that. So
I used to love those when I was a kid. Now I tried to watch. They're on YouTube now. You can watch them again.
yeah,
Watch some of them. I'm like, why did I ever like this? You know, it was no nostalgia switch thrown at me. I was like, wow, this is just ridiculous.
I remember I went back to watch the X-Men animated series, and because like I remember like it being outstanding, like how great the art was, but then you watch the animation, it's like, oh, the art was too complicated for them to animate, so the animation was actually really bad. So at least for that early stuff,
Yeah.
but they brought that back. They got the X-Men '97 series out now, which is acting like as if it were just picking up where the series was canceled.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting. Now they've just made it darker and more adult for the kids that grew up watching it.
Kids that are like now in their 40s and
Yeah.
50s. Yeah. This is for you.
Yeah, then we get the title War of the Worlds. We open on a dock as Ray Ferrier, played by Tom Cruise, is running an overhead crane. Which, when did you talk about this once? Like, if you were going to, because you ran a forklift, you said if you're going to follow your career to its penultimate, isn't this like what you'd be doing?
Oh yeah, you could be a longshoreman doing this kind of work in New York or something. Yeah, you make a fortune.
Okay.
The longshoremen are one of those groups that's like whenever they say they're going to go on strike, like the government gets involved. Like, hey, wait, guys, can you just give them more overtime? It's like these guys make like, these guys can make like great 6-figure incomes. It's like, yeah, they can also stop the whole country. It's also very hard to get in.
Okay, yeah.
Super ultra nepotism 10,000.
Yeah.
My grandfather operated this crane. You mean a crane like this? No, this crane I inherited it. Oh, okay.
And sometimes vaguely mob related.
Vaguely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they made a 50s anti-union propaganda film called On the Waterfront, which was basically funded by industry, but was so well made for the performances, people remember it as something very different than what it was. It was one step above those like safety films that we, who was doing that? Who are the guys that did the movies where they mock them? Mystery Science Theater. Yeah. They did like Shake Hands with Danger, like those kind of safety movies. It's like, yeah, On the Waterfront was just a little bit more elaborate than that, but it was about how all unions are corrupt.
Why? All I know
it might be internally, but the workers are,
Well, I just know like that area. The only thing I know I can connect it to is like Artie Lang. I read his like Too Fat to Fish book.
Yeah,
and like him growing up, like he would like on and off work as a longshoreman purely because he had family there. Where it's like, yeah, once you leave, aren't you gone forever? It's like, well, not if you have connections. And then also because he's Italian, he does have like. And it's in New York and New Jersey area. He's there's mob relations and there's also like betting on in the background. So it's like, okay, there's an interweaving of these going on there, but I'm not sure if they're necessarily like built hand in hand. It was just like, well, this is just the if you're Italian in that area, this is what happens.
It's in the sauce, like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, the longshoremen are like, all those like working on anything involving freight and cartage. There's always elements of that involved in it. I'm trying to think of how they fit into. There's a lot of stuff, but yeah. Anyway, this guy's probably got a pretty good paying job.
Yeah.
But he lives in Brooklyn, New York. So then there's the rub. It's like, well,
No, he lives in New Jersey.
or he lives in New Jersey. Yeah, that's right. His doc's in Brooklyn, but he lives in New Jersey.
Wait, is his dock in Brooklyn? Okay, I might have been. Because I looked at a map of New York. I was like, where is this place? And you know that bridge that will blow up that we see in the background constantly? So that's like the Bayonne Bridge. That goes to Staten Island.
Yeah.
And so if he works in Brooklyn, that's another step away. You have to go through Staten Island, and then there's another bridge to Queen, or what'd you say? Yeah, Queens and Bronx is like, no, the Bronx is northern New York. Where'd you say he worked?
It said he was. Well, the synopsis is it's like located in Brooklyn.
Okay, Brooklyn. Okay, yeah. And where the hell's Brooklyn? No, I can't even remember. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. He lives in Bayonne, New Jersey, but he works in Brooklyn.
Okay. Yeah, this would be the time. This was the time you would live in New Jersey and work in New York, so you could have a nice house, but get all your money in New York. And now that has all merged, and it's just all expensive.
It's all just Mega City One now. Ray's house today, if it wasn't destroyed, would probably be worth like $1 million.
Yeah, probably.
He paid, like $80,000 for it in the '90s, and that's worth $1 million because this is sustainable. This will go on forever.
Well, I always thought it was interesting, like tracing, through Kevin Smith's like life, and like he grew up in Red Bank, New Jersey, which just kind of was seen as like a slum of New Jersey, but it was on the beach, but you could see New York from there, and then like slowly over time, like that area became like this ritzy, overpriced like suburb of New York essentially, but it's in New Jersey because it's like beachside, location. So
yeah, except when the hurricanes come in.
Yeah,
I mean that's probably when Red Bank went from being this is like, well, this is where the firemen and the postal employees work, because isn't that what his dad did? Was he was a post carrier? Okay, so that's where those guys worked, and then the flood came, and now it's beachfront property for millionaires. And those people can just, I don't know, go die somewhere. I mean, I don't know what people do.
But that's how Kevin Smith got some of his money for Clerks, is because the one of the El Niños came in and flooded the whole area. So
it's happened multiple times.
Yeah,
that's why if you want to have a house there, it should just be a cement pillbox that you seal. Water goes over.
Yeah.
It's like we live on the beach, but you live in one of those like, Normandy D-Day invasion type, bubbles that you can just put the windows in,
or just have the first floor just be a concrete walk-through, or where the water goes through, and then your house sits above that, and then it's fine.
It's engineered like Venice, or like when the tide comes in, the water goes under the city and then comes back out. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching
something they engineered like in the Middle Ages. Which like, wow, how did they do this?
Well, when you got time.
Yeah, you have time and unlimited amounts of manpower. You can do a lot.
And you just have to sit there and record everything visually and like with math, and just spend all of daylight doing that. You kind of do amazing things.
How do you pay all these people? Well, they need to eat. Like, so how are we calculating cost here? Okay. 4 blocks of cement equals 1 bread. That's our economy. This is how we're doing it.
Remember what's that guy? Is that famous scientist at
Da Vinci?
At the moment, like
he
redid the. Now I'm forgetting all of it. Who's the billions of billions guy? Billions and billions of. life, and then he did that sign.
Michio Kaku, is it?
No.
It's the
All right, let's go to Seth MacFarlane. He produced the show, so I'll go there.
Oh, this is the astrophysicist.
Yeah, yeah.
He's funny as hell. I'm drawing a blank. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but he redid what was it called? Cosmos with Carl Sagan, but it was a new guy, and I can't think of his name.
It'll pop up here eventually. Come on. I know he produced it. Where's that? There it is. Or Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yep.
So he was talking about how, like, he talked about the tides, like, rising and falling. And it's like, well, that's actually not what happens. Like, what happens is the sun and the moon are pulling the ocean up, and then the earth spins into it.
Think about that, people. Lay down and close your eyes and think about that going on. Which is crazy, but as long as it goes to a predictable point back and forth,
yeah,
it's like no matter how nuts it is, it's like, yeah, you're still doing it. Still gonna work.
Yeah, because I remember someone talked about it, and I misconstrued it as like the Earth spins, and it was like the gravity of the moon is like pulling a wave across the Earth, which I guess is almost the same thing. But here it's just more like, no, the blob is just pulling it up and stationary the whole time, and then the Earth spins into the blob. So
yeah, yeah, it's always just pulling it up to a point. It's just the Earth is spinning at like 1,500 miles an hour. It's like I said, close your eyes and think about that.
Yeah, go out.
Imagine the point of light just moving.
Like and then go out and literally touch grass so you don't feel like you're falling away from the planet.
Yeah.
Thank God for gravity on flat Earth.
Yes, our flat disc that is
on the back of a turtle.
The firmament. Yeah, it is. It is like from the Dark Tower.
What's that?
Oh, see the turtle of enormous girth on his back. He holds the earth. About us, everyone. Yeah, it's something weird. It's like because I heard. Yeah, you see all that stuff. Yeah, flat Earth is just like no, this is God. It's a weird way to like embrace God, because that's where it leads to. Because people think flat Earth, it's a different scientific theory about Earth.
Yeah,
like all the guys who are like Einstein was wrong. It's like, prove it. No. Damn it.
I feel it's wrong, and that's all that matters.
I feel that way about it. Yeah. It's only a theory, see? It's like, yeah, you're right. That's your deal point. That's your alternative theory. God loves us. It's like, well, that's a nice thought. I appreciate the thought, but
no, God loves me. He hates you.
Yeah,
which allows me to hate you too.
Yeah. My hate, rage is justified.
God didn't tell me to bring everyone to heaven. He told me to bring you to hell.
Yeah. The creator of the universe says you need to die. He told me so. Great. Can I argue with that? What can I possibly say?
So Ray finishes a shift, and the boss is trying to get him to work another shift, but he says no, and he's got to talk to the union. Which I don't know. Presumably, I guess this is like the morning, and he's getting off a shift, so he works the night shift. I'm guessing here. So
that's what it seems like.
Which that means he's probably making even more bank here. So, So yeah, he drives his Mustang. Is this any special Mustang next?
It's an older Mustang. I didn't look it up.
Okay.
It just establishes his personality as a guy who is mechanical and handy and can keep one of those old things running.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess that pretty much just sets up his mechanical ability early on. So when he says fix the solenoid, then everyone's like, ah, yes. So yeah, he gets home and he sees his ex-wife Mary Ann there, who's pregnant, and then her new husband is there. So you can tell us all right up front without having to say anything at all. It's like, oh, this is his ex-wife and all that stuff. Like they're mad.
The actress was actually pregnant, so they just
okay.
Story because Steven Spielberg really liked her, and she's like, "Well, I can't do any acting right now. I'm pregnant." It's like, "Well, you're not doing any stunts."
Well,
I
yeah.
always associate her with she was the daughter of Denethor or somebody. Or no. She played Aowen.
Oh, and yeah, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
She
Yeah,
fought the Wraith.
okay.
So I always associate her with like, where's her helmet?
But it does but like that actually helps out here that she's pregnant because it just makes it seem like she's moving on, but he can't or something, or he's not, he can't grow. I mean, that's his whole like character arc is that he's still like, I don't know, like a kid that has children and like you gotta, it's like a child raising another children. So
Yeah, he seems to be like estranged.
yeah,
Because it's kind of implied like his boss is surprised. It's like, hey, you want to do a double
yeah,
like you usually do? Because I got the
yeah.
Rhea coming in this afternoon, and he's like, no, I got to do stuff with my kids, and he's like, what? What? Come on, because it's like, yeah, this guy probably like when he started having kids and they became difficult, he's like, well, I'm going to work, honey. It was one of those deals.
Yeah,
But because you can always like square that up by saying, I'm providing for my family.
yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay.
um
What are you providing exactly? I mean, look, I'm guilty of this too. Not throwing stones like someone who's perfect. It's like there have been times in my life where it's like, yeah, we got to work this Saturday and Sunday. Sorry, it's like that became my refuge is just like working.
Yeah.
Some men take it to extremes. But I always brought the money home and said, here, buy something nice. If I was just like building my own car or whatever, like, yeah, I got to work this weekend. I just got to pay for the supercharger. Damn it. That's when marriage starts to break up.
I got to make enough money so when I wreck this thing, I can have another one.
Yeah.
The kids hop out of the car. There's the older son, Robbie, played by Justin Chatwin, who I only know his other big thing was he was in like the early seasons of oh, now I completely forgot the show.
Weeds.
Well, he was also in Weeds, but this is a
Lost.
Showtime show.
Gothic.
I'll find it.
Hmm.
Shameless. That's it. He was in a lot of the early good seasons of Shameless. So,
Oh, okay.
Shameless had like a. Did you ever watch Shameless?
I watched like 4 seasons of it.
Okay, yeah, you watch the good ones then. It's like, it's a really good, incredibly upsetting show because it's like actually gets too close to like. I hate that like everyone in it is really talented and like they seem like they're gonna pull out of it and then just everyone fails at every. And it's like, yeah, that's too real, man. That's too real. I want them to escape this.
The thing I didn't like about Shameless is it reminded me not of myself because of the whole talent thing. Like that apparently wasn't happening with me, but it reminded me of like a lot of people I knew.
Yeah.
And it would start making me think like, oh, am I one of these characters? It's like, I actually go to work and I do try, often fail, but try at life. But I don't let like drugs get the best of me or something. And it's like, yeah. But yeah, I remember that show.
And then there's the younger sister, Rachel, was played by Dakota Fanning, who's probably, like, I think she first got known in I Am Sam.
Yeah.
Because there she has to be the lead, because like, what's his name is playing a mentally disabled father. So.
Oh, Sean Penn. Yeah,
Sean Penn. So yeah, they go inside. Ray has an engine block in his kitchen. So
yeah, that's normal.
He's out of food. Yeah, I mean he has a garage, but I guess there's more stuff in the garage. But he said,
I know people that have done that.
Yeah.
There's a picture. Someone had a meme on the internet, and it was a General Motors transmission bell housing assembled or disassembled upside down with transmission fluid all over a bathtub. The joke was somebody's about to be single. Like this was some crazy thing that no one would do, and I immediately sent it to one of my friends. Remember this? It's like, yeah, I've seen that before. And the reason you put it in a bathtub is because you can't lose any of the parts, and they have to go all back together in order.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, but the engine block in the living room is like, actually I don't know what that would do because you want that in a clean environment to assemble it. So maybe it was just a decorative thing.
Maybe it was the place with the most amount of like walking space to fit something, but
That could be. I mean, if it was just men living in homes, that shit would seem normal.
yeah,
It's absolutely the most efficient way to do this.
yeah.
It's like, well, it stinks and it's dirty and it's oily. That's why the carpet soaks up the oil. See?
Yeah, I saw this like we went and worked on an air conditioner in some, you know, small town in Iowa that was like 2 hours away, and like, man, it was just a house full of guys, and they weren't in college, and they had, you know, fuck Biden uh, flags in their
Fuck
basement.
Biden. Yeah.
It's like, okay, and then
At
there's
least those are the only red and black flags they did have.
that's the one they displayed, yeah.
Yeah. There was probably some other flags. They'll
And then
put
they
that
had
up. We see guys coming over.
they also had like framed Playboys on the wall and stuff like that, and then
Yeah,
just
I
like,
gotta remember the good times.
and like he was like, there can't be a gun far away, and then they just had like pallets like leaned up against the wall, and then like all their cowboy boots were like were stuck in between the you know, the
Slats.
the slats, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, you know why? It's 'cause they pull them off when they're drunk.
Yeah.
They just put it between the slats and they pull
Yeah.
off.
Um. Oh wait, no, I went too far there. So yeah, and also he doesn't have any food in his house, so that's another thing where it's like either he's not eating or he just always has takeout, and somehow looks like Tom Cruise.
Yeah. He's eating off the roach coach down on the dock. Like 3 hot dogs a day, but he looks like he's a marathon runner. It's believable. It's the most believable thing in the movie.
There's some news reports about freak lightning storms in Ukraine. They talk about an EMP pulse.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I was like, oh, in Ukraine, that's
then Ray forces his son to play catch. And then like, you know, Ray puts on like his New York Yankees hat, and then Robbie puts on a Boston Red Sox hat. He's like, it's gonna be like that, right? Huh? Which this might be. Was 2004? Was that when like the Boston Red Sox had like their glorious comeback and beat the Yankees or was that 2004?
when they broke the curse of the Bambino or whatever.
Yeah. I can't remember if they beat the Yankees in the World Series or if they just beat them to get to the World Series.
Let's see, what year was that?
Because they might be in the same.
October 27th, 2004. Coming back from Boston, they came back from a 0-3 deficit, and eventually winning the 86-year-long curse and winning a World Series championship.
Okay.
But who are they playing?
Well, it says in 2004 they beat the Cardinals, but I remember they famously beat the Yankees in that. I thought they came back from 0-3 down to beat the Yankees 4 in a row, but that might have been a different. Let's see here. Red Sox beat the Yankees game 7.
You can tell we're sports guys.
Okay, they did beat them in game 7 in 2004. So yeah, that was on their way to the World Series. So
yeah, I think everyone got laid in Boston that night.
Yeah, I don't care about baseball, but that was remember the thing. I remember watched that with Grandma, like the World Series.
Oh yeah,
but she was also a Cardinals fan, so they ultimately would lose to the Red Sox. So yeah, then it just becomes a shortcut for like, okay, they're contentious because I guess they now live with Tim.
Yeah,
and he lives. Wait, do they live in Boston or
they
is that
live
the
in
parents?
They live in Boston.
Okay.
His ex-wife and Tim are from Boston, which means that Tim makes a lot of money. When you see their house, you're like, oh yeah, they do.
Okay, was that house in Boston?
I believe it was in the outskirts of
Okay, all right. Because I know eventually they get to the city, so I didn't know like. I don't know any of the.
Now the end of it is in Boston. I forget the house they go to. Yeah, they live in. Where do they live? I thought they lived in Massachusetts.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's like, it's the East
But
Coast.
Tim's the Boston fan. It's like, okay, now Tim's becoming the new dad, so that makes Ray angry because he's essentially a child.
Nope, I have the War of the Worlds map. Those are the wealthy suburbs of New Jersey is where Ray's ex-wife and Tim live.
Okay, all right. But Tim's from Boston, so that's why he brings the Boston Red Sox with him. So
Yeah.
and infects young Robbie with the Boston Red Sox. See, it's all the same thing. It's
All Robbie needs to see is like Tim's house has a heated driveway. Therefore, I'm with Tim. Which means I'm not shoveling snow. It took me years to figure out we'll talk about that when they go to the parents' house. But for years, I always wondered, like, what's this massive pipe structure in their basement? It's like, oh, okay. Then when I found out what that was, I was eternally jealous. It's like, no wonder Ray hates these people.
There's an awkward fight with Robbie and Ray where they throw the ball extra hard, and he's like, yeah, I pay for that school. It's like, you don't pay for that school. Tim paid for that school, which again is like crazy because I think both Tim and him probably make six figures. So
yeah, there's no poor people here.
But also we don't know what Mary Ann does, so she could be a stockbroker for all we know.
Yeah.
And Ray was always jealous of that. Why does my wife make more money than me? I make a lot of money. We can't make this work. Then Ray goes to sleep because basically he just worked an overnight shift, so now he's like, well, I'm going to get some sleep. And he tells Rachel to order food. There's still like mention of EMPs on the background in the news. Oh yeah, and then there's also more like I think she's like Rachel's talking about like you should get TiVo because Tim has it, and so this angers Ray even more. Ray wakes up and then like he like takes a bite of some of the food she bought, and then and he gets mad because he just ate hummus and like pita bread, and he's like, "What's this?" Which like I guess people weren't ready for this because hummus and pita bread is delicious. I don't know what his problem is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have that about once a week. Trust me, I'm not someone who's into fine dining by any means.
But I guess in 2004, this was fancy health food stuff. So
yeah, it could be. I don't know. When you live in Michigan, it's like that's Southeast Michigan. It's like that's all over the place here.
But I guess for a New Yorker, not having a hot dog was like, the most offensive thing ever. So, this is also where he learns that Robbie took his Mustang for a ride, so he immediately runs outside looking for Robbie. They notices the neighborhood's like all out looking at a weird cloud formations. So then he's like, "Oh yeah, that's weird." And then like the wind starts to pick up. There's just a big swirling storm in the sky, black storm. Then the wind all of a sudden stops, and there's some flashing lights, but there's not really there's sound of lightning crashing, but it's not really lightning sounds because they say it's not making any thunder, but it's still making sound. But
yeah, it basically sounds like if you ran lightning strikes, played them backwards at high speed, and ran them through some kind of filter. They make a very unusual sound.
Yeah. But there's not the usual like lingering cacophony of a thunder. The lightning picks up on frequency and also like gets closer. The lightning stops, but all the power is out, and everything like with a battery in is also not working. So this goes into like some sort of EMP thing happened. So. Ray goes outside. All the cars have stopped working. Robbie comes back to the house because like the car stopped that he stole, and he's talking about like they're near where the lightning was striking. They counted like as 26 strikes. Then Ray runs across a mechanic who tells him to like change the solenoid because it's like the charger's busted. We don't know what's going on here. And then he just goes change the solenoid, which this will be the thing that solves everything. I don't know. I don't know if that would actually work or be the problem, but whatever.
Well, the starter solenoid is what engages the starter.
Okay.
So when you hit your battery, or when you hit the key in your car, and what you're engaging is a solenoid that basically switches over and engages the starter in the engine.
Okay.
Now, if you're being hit by an EMP, you would need to replace the box that controls all the timing and functioning of the engine, the computer that runs it. Or you need to have a points and condenser style ignition, which went out in the 60s.
Yeah.
So you have a very old vehicle, but maybe changing the starter solenoid would.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what kind of EMP attack this
Yeah.
was.
I mean, also, like, presumably this car was broken before this
Yeah.
because it didn't stop, and then this mechanic was working on it. It was stopped already. So maybe it, because it wasn't working, it wasn't affected by the EMP strike. But
That could be. No, nobody knows what those would do to actual modern
yeah,
technology.
yeah,
They know it would like assault our power grid because they're just big copper cables that would conduct that signal all through the system.
yeah.
But they don't know like if it would destroy your cell phone or whatever. It would destroy its ability to get power.
Yeah. Um,
Because
I
we're the ones who perfected that. That's why we did things like Starfish Prime and weird tests, like we're going to set off hydrogen bombs in the atmosphere to see, or the upper atmosphere to see what happens. It's like, why are you doing this? Oh, just because. And then it turns researching that.
we're curious.
We figured out it would screw us over more than the Russians because we have a much more tech intensive society than they did at the time. So it's like, yeah, it'll assault their power grid, but it'll destroy our phone system and everything. So
That's what you have the internet for.
yeah.
Because you can break it to pieces and it'll still technically work.
Yeah.
It
Well,
may
the thing
not.
with EMP that as I understand how it works is it just any like big broadcast surface that has highly conductive materials in it, it'll just run very destructive high powered signals through it.
Yeah.
And that's it was evaluated against 50s, 60s, and 70s era technology, and then they kind of quit talking about it. But now it's like one of the three apocalypses that will happen:
Yeah.
nuclear, biological, and EMP. But no one knows what EMP does. No one wants to find out.
We'll get all three in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't get nuked, but I mean, kind of get a plasma jet going through, so that's about Then a crowd gathers around a hole in the ground where lightning struck. They hear a rumble under the ground, and then the ground starts to break open. Buildings start to split us apart, and windows are breaking all over the place. The intersection where this hole is like just starts rotating. It's very cool looking. There's very good special effects in this movie. It rips off the front of a church. Then a car just gets tossed out a hole. Then we see a mechanical leg with tri-feet emerges from the hole. Because you'd think like, oh, this is the tripod, but like, no, this is just one of its feet. There's more of it. The rest of the giant machine emerges from the hole, making power up sounds, which is like there's great sounds in this movie. Like the which you don't know, like it's like a callback. It's also like a warning call. Like I don't know what it sounds cool, but I don't know what it's actually like, what it's meant for from the aliens' perspective. Other than is it supposed to strike fear? Is it supposed to send a signal? I don't know, but is that their communication device? Is that them linking up with the other tripods? The people start to panic and run, and the alien tripod like fully emerges, and it's like huge. It's like I don't like. There seems to be different sizes of tripods, but this is like
there seems to be different models.
yeah, which is more explicit later on. But here it kind of seems like they're all the same, like giant one that has like the plasma things that just evaporates people, which I'm guessing that's its purpose.
Yeah.
Ray hides behind a building, then he goes back to out where there's like a stillness because everybody like as the tripod is kind of like stops for a moment. Then it makes that alarm sound, and then you start hearing an energy buildup sound, and it just starts firing energy beams and just vaporizing people completely. But like their clothes are left behind, so it's a very like bloodless way to just decimate people. So. And seems weird that their clothes are like, so it just means like, oh, it just like attacked the biological part of the people and just eviscerated it completely into dust in the matter of seconds. So
yeah, it's like because the heat weapons described in the book or in like in the War of the Worlds, they're like because it's a scientist is the main guy, and he's like, they're breaking apart matter at a subatomic level with, they're interfering with the structure of matter. Because in the War of the Worlds 53, they had two different kinds of weapons. They had the heat rays, and then they had the green rays.
Yeah.
And they were two different types of things. But yeah.
Then Ray's sprinting away from the tripod as it starts blowing up like city blocks, which again is weird because it's like the same, as far as I know, the same rays that are just blowing up people are also the same rays that are just like ripping blocks apart. So I guess it just hasn't gathered up enough power yet. So now it does. But also, this is what Tom Cruise does best: is just running after a camera on a truck. So,
yep.
There's this and like that, and the my other favorite one is when he's running on the bridge in Mission Impossible 3 and like the missile blows up and throws him into a car. So he's able to like run away from the tripod. It moves away, just keeping like destroying things in the background. And then Ray has all the dead people dust on him, which he doesn't realize yet. So that being the end of Act 1.
It's very reminiscent of 9/11.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Ray, the dust that covered everyone. And it killed a bunch of firemen, we found out. Not good to breathe that in.
Yeah, well, and just regular people around there. Yeah, that was a crazy evil dust cloud. Yeah, I mean, of course, like I said before, like this movie's just basically a reworked 9/11 parable, but which I think maybe is why it got, maybe why the critics were like put off by this movie. I actually don't know like what's the Rotten Tomatoes on it, but I feel like I didn't go see it because it got bad reviews, but I actually can't remember. So,
actually. Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't even look up any reviews of this.
It's got a 42% audience score and a 76 per tomato meter, so there is a difference here. It's considered fresh by the critics, but not so by the audience. So there is some contention with the movie. But Ray gets back home. He's speechless for a moment. The kids keep asking him questions, which like I guess it makes sense, but like how big this moment was where like all these people are getting shot up and there's like this giant like 4-story tall like thing walking around town, and then he gets home and just like nobody knows what's going on. It feels like that's wrong, but like being that like every communication device is completely decimated, like no one would know what's going on unless you're there to put eyeballs on it. So
yeah.
They start grabbing supplies and getting ready to leave. Ray grabs a revolver. Ray's trying to get the kids out of there, but he's not telling anybody what happened. So he's like shoving them into the minivan, and like they're asking what's going on. Everybody else is asking what's going on because he's covered in. Also like he went in the bathroom, and he's like brushing off all the dead people dust because that's when he gets kind of like revolted when he realizes like he's covered in people. So
yeah.
Which will come back in a different form. Ray puts kids in the minivan that got fixed when Manny the mechanic fixed the solenoid, and Manny's like, "Hey, come on, I gotta give this back to this guy. What are you doing here?" He's like, "Manny, get in the car," and he's like, "What are you talking about? I gotta get this." He's like, "Manny, get in the car. We're all gonna die." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And then he takes off. He takes off in the car, and like maybe just a moment later, Manny gets vaporized by the tripod. And then as things are like blowing up, like maybe it's Robbie. He's like, "Is it the terrorists?" And this is just direct, like after 9/11, it's like, well, anything that happens, it's got to be terrorism. So, was it orange or do we have an orange alert out? Like it should be red now, or whatever. Which we don't even have that anymore. So, or do we? Are they still giving out?
I think they stopped that.
Okay. Then they drive out of there as the Bayonne Bridge explodes in the background. This is really cool. It's very elaborate, and like that's a big bridge, and you just see portions of it just flying towards the screen. It's like, oh man, that's crazy. Which I'm guessing here, like you said, like they didn't want statues getting blown up, but a bridge is okay. So,
Yeah.
um, and they didn't show anybody on the bridge, so it seemed to be evacuated. So, even though everyone else is being evaporated, so they get to the interstate where all the cars are stopped. Here we have the big like combined shot where it's all one shot, but it's clearly like 30 different shots all woven together. But like you have the camera like going inside the car, outside the car, spinning around it. That's a pretty cool shot for the time. People might get annoyed by it now because like I feel like they've overdone the one shot. Like
Yeah.
people watched. Like it was done okay here. It was done the best in Children of Men, which I think is our next movie, and then everyone's trying to one up that ever since. I mean, also like we had Old Boy, that was another like big one shot, and then like all right, we got to one up this, and then now I feel like if you do a one shot, like people think you're being too artsy or like it's like oh you're trying too hard. So now I think people are stopping. It's like now how many cuts can we put in the movie rather than having no cuts? How many cuts can we put? Going back to MTV editing, so. But yeah, also we have like Rachel's like freaking out in the background, and Robbie like gives her some like put your hands together. This is your safe space and stuff like that. Which I don't know if this is a thing, but it's kind of funny. Also, I didn't realize until watching that because I've seen this a couple times before, but I don't remember the Rachel character being so fucking annoying throughout this entire movie.
Oh yeah.
Because like her character arc is a regression. Because it starts out she's like the youngest child who like acts like an adult because her brother and her father are like children, and then just throughout the movie she's just constantly freaking out and screaming and not understanding what's going on, and like learns nothing throughout every like interaction of terribleness with the aliens, where it's like at some point a survival instinct's got to kick in, and then she just does the wrong thing at all times and just screams. It's like this is an awful character.
Yeah.
It's like we need a damsel in distress. Like how about an 8-year-old child? It's like that sounds annoying. Like yeah.
It does. Yeah.
I mean Robbie's also annoying, but at least he's like I don't know. At least he's doing things.
It's one of the biggest complaints I heard about this movie was it's like, oh, I understand why this guy's an absentee father. It's just annoying.
Yeah. Ray tells Robbie that the thing that came out of the ground, like started like the thing that's killing everyone came out of the ground, started killing people. They go to Tim's house. It has power, but nobody's home. Which I don't know if it's just like this grid here hasn't been affected, or if he's got some kind of backup power or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's later described like when these things move into an area, everything stops. So I just think they haven't made it that far yet.
Yeah, or they just don't, or they don't have the machines buried here, and so they just never get that EMP pulse or whatever. Never comes through. So I don't know, like the whole EMP thing, like it seems to. It's like a great visual where it's like, oh yeah, everything stopped working. But then later on in the movie, it seems like, well, what does and does not work? Because there doesn't seem to be like consistency with that. So,
well, what I surmised was that the EMP wasn't like a coordinated attack. It was just the result of those lightning strikes transporting the alien pilots.
Yeah, that's what
it's like. But the pods weren't buried everywhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, so if you lived out in the rural areas, then they didn't have anything buried there, but you were fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like,
effect.
But the news camera that films it happening, that shouldn't work because it shouldn't have power.
Unless it's a remote, like it has a battery set up.
Well, no, because everything with a battery also got fried. That's why there's no cell phones.
I don't know how that happened. That could have been a security camera footage or something. I don't know.
No, it's from the news crew. Like they have it. But
was it? Oh, I didn't know where they got the camera feed from.
I mean, they said they were attached to a National Guard unit.
Oh.
Unless it was a National Guard camera or something that saw it.
It's a government hardened camera.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're just like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There's so much nonsense in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, the tripods didn't come from space because we'd have warning. That's what Steven Spielberg's thing was about, burying them in the ground and having them rise up from the earth.
Yeah.
Was like, no, they've been here for tens of thousands of years,
Yeah.
which actually weirdly corresponds with some Area 51, like what's the guy's name? Bob Lazar. Remember the guy? He's the scientist that supposedly worked on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And they ask him, it's like, oh, were these captured UFOs? He's like, no, they found them buried in the ground. They've been here for tens of thousands of years. They just dug them up and we didn't know what they did. So we were playing around with them, trying to make them work, which, like, okay, if you know, so it sort of jives, because that's like a weird theory. Like, no, there's no aliens actively visiting Earth anymore. We found these spacecraft like buried in the ground for, some of them are 10, 15,000 years old. Some of them are newer than that, according to him. But, it's like, okay, cool.
So, like in the Abyss, were those aliens, or are those just another life form that's lived in the abyss forever?
I never, did we ever figure that out?
I don't know.
When we talked about the movie, I assumed it was aliens,
Yeah.
but they were aliens from like another aquatic planet.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I might have said something completely different in the actual episode, depending on how drunk I was. So,
Because when you watch it, it's like, well, they don't look like humans, so obviously they're aliens. But like the other theory that there could be is that, well, they've just lived down there forever, and then
just evolved that way.
yeah. Because I mean, it's like going to space or going to the bottom of the ocean are equally difficult things to do. So it's a good place to hide.
Yeah, the only difference in the ocean is you don't have the tremendous distance to deal with that you do in space.
Yeah.
Everything else is more dangerous.
So yeah, they go to Tim's house. They have power. Robbie tries to call out, but they can't reach anybody. They just get a busy signal. Ray nervously makes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This is weird because he goes through like the food he brought. It's like, what's here? I'm like, there's a whole fucking house there with presumably food. Why are you going through your goddamn like banker's box?
He doesn't know how to deal with his kids.
Yeah, that makes
He's
sense.
flustered. He's like, oh, they want stuff. Well,
Yeah.
damn it, what do I do?
Yeah, because I think it was a sense of pride because when Marianne looks in his refrigerator, he's like, "Don't look in there." So I'm guessing he's trying to like do the respect he would want instilled on him. So he's not going to look in her fridge for anything. He wants to provide everything from himself.
Yeah, could be too.
Which like there's character reasons for that, but then like the logical place, like when you're in survival mode, is like there's food around, just go grab it, and like we'll immediately have that happen like moments later. So it's like whatever. That's also where like Rachel says she has like a peanut allergy, and he's like, since when? She's like, since birth, and yeah, this is also the rise of the peanut allergy.
Yeah, which you don't hear about anymore, weirdly enough.
I mean, it's still a thing, but I don't know. That was always a thing where it's like, what's that guy?
Adam Carolla.
Yeah, Adam Carolla. Like his thing, like the convenient diseases. Like it's like
yeah, there's no food allergies in starving countries.
Which there's a truth to that, and also just like. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you feed a peanut to somebody with these allergies, you can just watch them die. It's like, I guess I was wrong. So
You're like, oh, damn, I didn't. Okay, I guess they said that would happen, and it happened.
Yeah, because I've read a bunch of stories where like shellfish allergies going wrong. So that's just assume that's what goes wrong with peanut allergies, but just there might be like different versions of it, and maybe most of them are mild. So
yeah, I think shellfish allergies are very they're lethal for the most. I think whatever happens with people that are allergic to those, it's like full, what do they call that, anaphylactic shock or what it's because there's a reason like Jewish people don't, it's not just to be quirky and have weird religious customs. It's like, no, they don't eat shellfish because they're genetically predisposed to have shellfish allergies. So that just God said don't do this. If God say that, just don't do it, okay? Because you by the time you find out you're gonna have the problem, you're probably gonna need to be in the emergency room. So let's just skip the trip.
They go down and sleep in the basement for safety reasons, where like the kids are mad. It's like, I just want to sleep in my room. Come on, why not? Which is actually end up being actually accidentally saved them, although not really from the aliens, but as a result of them, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
made for a cool scene.
yeah, they cut night. There's wind rustling outside the window. There's you have the lightning flashes again. There's a screech and like machine sounds outside. Yeah, they're all asleep, and then they wake up after this, and then they run into another room. Like as the basement windows explode, they run into the room that has like the
This is where the heated driveway is piped in.
oh yeah, because the water heater's in here and they got the furnace in here, and so I'm guessing they probably, if they have a heated driveway, then they probably got a boiler too that does the heated driveway. So
Yeah,
because I've installed one of those before.
a boiler or a heated driveway.
The boiler that runs the heated driveway.
I've always wanted a heated driveway.
Yeah.
I've always thought that's a cool idea. But then you look into what it costs. It's like, okay, yeah.
I mean,
or instead,
if you and Grayson are up for it, I can send you some YouTube videos on how to do it yourself. But that's the problem. Like, you get into it. It's like you get halfway through it, and then if you don't finish it in time, you're just gonna piss off so many people, yourself, your family, your neighbors. But
let me try this window thing in my basement first. I can screw that up, and then we'll see.
Yeah, because when you watch people do like brick laying and like laying cement, it's like, well, that doesn't seem hard till you try it and fuck it up.
Well, I'm going to do this in the fall when it's cool outside because it's going to be a lot of being on my knees, which I have knee braces for that. I can do that, but I can't do it when sweat's just pouring down my face. And it's less pressure on me to do things in the basement because if like I screw it up, it's like, well, no one's going to see it.
It's out of view. Yeah.
So I just got to be careful, like, don't cut my fingers off and stuff.
Yeah, the basement window explodes. Then we cut to morning. Ray checks out the windows. He walks into the rest of the basement, which is all charred and everything strewn about. Then he goes upstairs into the living room where it's like, well, it's oddly lit up here, and then we reveal like an engine in the living room, which I guess maybe that's a callback to the engine in his like kitchen. So, there's also maybe a callback to Donnie Darko.
Yeah, it seemed very Donnie Darko-esque.
And then
around me are a million.
And then we reveal the other, like all the other bits of the plane. So like presumably this plane got shot by one of the, or either hit by an EMP or shot by the aliens, which I'm guessing it was shot by the aliens because there's no dead passengers in this airplane, or it was just flying without passengers. You never know. So
yeah, we don't know what happens, but I do know this was actually a 747 they brought in and built a set.
Damn.
This was like, no, we're going full practical effects. Well, you mean in cameras? Like, no, we're just getting a junk 747, cutting it up, and building a fake little housing, Potemkin village. Because watch the scene again. I thought you knew that. Yeah, watch the scene again. You can tell once you know that, you're like, oh yeah, that's absolutely like full size.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. That's pretty good. Yeah. Well, I didn't.
I don't know what an engineless junked 747 fuselage costs.
Yeah. Well, I mean that the special effects in the movie seem pretty good, but also they seem to have a mix of practical effects too. Where like if this was made now, just everything would be completely CGI, and like it would all look nice until like you saw a character and you realize you just know they're filmed on a green screen or something like that. So,
well, Spielberg had managed to get the ILM boys right after one of the prequel movies was done.
Yeah.
Like they were between projects. So he's like, hey, you guys want to do this? And yeah, of course, yeah, sure. But he wanted I'm doing a lot more practical effects in this movie. So I need things just to look good. Like, we're going to do some CG, obviously, but we're also doing a lot of practical effects because he just wanted it to be more realistic because it was this small movie focused on this family running across the country. So It's like, do some cool, close in practical work because we're not doing like cityscapes or anything
Yeah.
here. So that was kind of the you wanted
I,
to make this look like a small movie kind of in a
yeah,
way.
I mean, a lot of ways this feels a lot like uh, um, Independence Day, but just like very focused and a lot smaller. But like
Yeah,
but the devastation feels like worse in a way. Well, I mean, I guess not worse, but like this is the ground level look at devastation. So
yeah, we're not flying over and seeing this.
no, yeah, there's no overhead of this. So, and I guess ends. I guess actually, yeah, this and well, I guess that means like Independence Day was stealing from War of the Worlds the entire time because that also ends with technically a virus taking down the shields, allowing them to take down the aliens at the end of the movie. So
Oh, Independence Day is completely derivative of everything that
yeah,
came before it, but in a fun way.
It's like
It almost doesn't take itself seriously.
no, it is a dumb movie, but it's like great. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like people like that president's speech at the end of it. It's like it's both mocked and revered in the same exact manner. It's like
yeah,
this is great, and it's like this is awful. It's like yeah, handshake.
yeah. I
um,
did like it that they changed the end though, because at the end, the Randy Quaid character was supposed to fly his crop duster with a bomb strapped to it
yeah.
into the eye, but they're like, no, just let him fly like an F-18 or whatever, and fly his bomb into it because they weren't going to let him fly because he was too much of a drunk.
Yeah.
But they did change it. It's like, no, let's send him out with a cool plane.
um, but and also like the White House getting blown up is iconic and
Yeah.
still a great special effect to this day. So
And the taking off down the runway on Andrews with the fireball behind him, that was really cool. I always remember that as like, that was a spectacular scene. That's just all that weird World War III stuff we never got to see.
yeah.
That's like, oh yeah, they finally threw some money at it, but because it wasn't World War III, it's like, yeah, let's shoot all this stuff that like we would imagine happening.
And then I never saw the sequel because I'd never heard. I only heard bad things about it. So
Yeah, it wasn't good. It
Roland
was
Emmerich.
weird. It was weird. It was just strange.
Oh, okay.
And it was Jeff Goldblum being just just completely refined Jeff Goldblum the whole, which he wasn't as that character originally.
Yeah.
He just kind of mutated into weirdo Jeff Goldblum. Like, oh, okay.
Was it weird? Did it feel like they were pulling punches because they wanted to make a franchise, or was it just bad throughout? Like it was just ill-conceived.
It was just kind of weirdly conceived because
Okay.
now we have all that alien technology.
Yeah.
Like because they're flying around and like Air Force One looks like a weird alien hovercraft, and they're jet fighters on the moon, and they're there to defend the planet. And the president, the Bill Pullman character, is like the former president now. He's just kind of this angry drunk. They didn't take me seriously. They know this attack was coming, and they're like, we completely redid our economy to protect against these things coming back, and they're still coming back. So it was like we're using their technology against them, but then like the alien super queen shows up.
Yeah, I
And
saw
it's
one. I
Jeff
saw
Goldblum
one.
fighting like a 500-foot tall alien in the desert type
Yeah,
shit.
because I saw one where it looked like it had just this giant foot, and the scale of it looked cool, but like I heard bad things. I was like, "Ah, man, that looks cool," but I bet they fucked it up, so I'm not gonna go watch it. So
Well, the thing is, the scenes with the aliens, they like shot from a camera, like it was being shot from a helicopter. So it didn't really scale down well. You just saw
okay.
this huge alien in this like CG bus being chased by.
um, let's see.
Brent Spiner did a good job.
Here.
It was fun to see as Dr. Oaken. Because he was in a coma until this movie. Like he was,
okay.
because he got taken over by the alien.
Yeah.
Because he was the voice of the alien. Because it just smashed his face against the wall. And it's like, what do you want from us? And he's like, want you to die, or something like
yeah.
it's really straightforward shit. Like, yeah.
But yeah, but we see the plane has taken out the whole top of the house, so yeah, if the kids had slept in their beds, they'd be dead. So
Yeah. Going out Donnie Darko style.
we combine the universes.
Yeah.
Ray
Like
will.
the tangent universe collapsed. War of the Worlds. Just goes to credit, and Morgan
Yeah.
Freeman's like, the aliens didn't know about the temporal paradox. Wow, this movie was weird. It just cross franchises.
Once again, the power of nostalgia saved the day, and we had to kill a teenager to sacrifice.
Yeah, we had to sacrifice children to win. But isn't that the story of America? And then they just start singing like a Ministry remix of that. Ain't that America? It's got this real weird techno reverb.
Yeah, just playing the guitar with a drill.
Yeah.
Just put some drumsticks on a rotary machine and let it hit some drums. Ain't that America? I can't do with Al Jorgensen without destroying my voice. So.
I don't even know if he can.
No, he can't. Not really. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's so yeah, Ray's walking around amongst the wreckage. There's a guy who's like in the wreckage, like he's deaf because like a shell went off near him, artillery shell. He's part of the news crew, but like he thinks like, hey, were you on that plane? Because there's no passengers or anything, but he's just grabbing a food cart off of it. And yeah, it's like the first class of a 747. I'm not sure if it's the top part or the middle part because I know there's like that bubble part is like another like first class passenger area or extra first class passenger area, but
I don't know. Yeah, there used to be bars up there, and those things went through. Got to remember they stopped making those like last year.
Yeah,
From the early 70s till last year.
Yeah,
and there's so many variants of them.
Yeah.
Because they were like the 70s, like the golden age of travel, and then they became cargo planes. And the Japanese are like, can we put seats in the cargo bay and just fly low to get as many people across Japan as we can? Yeah, you can do that. And you crash into a mountain and kill 600 people. It's like a natural disaster. It's like, maybe not put that many people on a plane.
So yeah, a news crew shows up. They're getting food off the plane, which like somehow they say they're attached to the National Guard unit and the army is completely effective against the aliens. They said that everything they threw at them like blew up, which is because of the force field, but they made it sound like it was blowing up things that shouldn't blow up, but it did anyways. I'm not sure because of the force field or if something else.
Yeah. Never understood how force fields work, but yeah.
Well, it's like, how does, like, if you fire a shell from a tank, there's nothing to blow up. It just would, like, playing against the energy shield, but they're making it sound like it was blowing up 10 feet away from the, well, I guess the shield would block it, but whatever.
Yeah, it does seem to happen later on in the movie.
Yeah.
When people are throwing things at it, they do seem to explode.
Well, yeah, he throws a grenade and like it hits the force field and explodes, I think. So
I thought it flew up away from it.
Yeah, no, because the force field is like projected outward from it. So, but
I never understood how force fields work.
Yeah, I
never understood how they worked in Star Trek. I never understood. I mean, Star Trek I did because they were using like energy weapons.
Yeah.
But in like this universe, it's like, well, you're throwing kinetics against what? Like hard light? Like where's that energy going? Because if you're firing a bullet at something and it's like, oh, I have a magnetic field around it, it's like, okay, what's it doing with the energy?
I'm guessing it's just ready to project energy. And how on your touchscreen for your phone, like you're the capacitor, like you complete the circuit. So yeah. I'm guessing anything that interacts at the force field, it completes the circuit and then just is zapped with so much energy it explodes. So
okay.
In Star Trek, they make it sound like it's just an invisible projection at all times because they show like little dots of the shields going up and down, and there's layers of it. So who knows?
Yeah, we don't know.
But I always imagine as it's just electricity projected, in a circle around a thing magically. So. But yeah, here, like you said, like you were saying, like how is the force field stopping kinetic weapons, but it's just well, just because it's
I
not
mean, there's
really.
all kinds of things in this movie you could just pick apart. Like,
Yeah,
well, this
if you
doesn't
want to,
make any sense. It's like, yeah, it's just a metaphor for like we can't defeat these things.
yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Because
Like,
in the 53 one, they drop a nuclear bomb.
yeah.
They drop a hydrogen bomb on three of the things.
And again, this is also portrayed in Independence Day, where it's like all of our weapons, including a nuclear bomb, and it doesn't stop it, and also force field. So it's like
yeah.
oh yeah, there's nothing we can do. So, which here it's just like it's what eventually happens is like just more, just makes it more. It's like the hubris. It's like, oh, we didn't win; they just died. There was no intention on our part that stopped anything they did. So, they meet the snooze crew. They have a working vehicle and they have working cameras and stuff like that. The news lady has more footage of tripods, and she shows one where it's just like 6 tripods just shooting up the city, like in New York or something like that, and then, or or Long Island or Staten Island or whatever. But he's like, Jesus Christ, is more of them because he just thought it was the one, and then now there's a bunch of them. So now this makes him extra scared. It's like, how are we gonna stop this? And it's like, I don't think we are. So, but then she has even more footage. She has a tape where she can like literally frame by frame, and you can see the aliens riding the lightning down into the buried machines, which is like, oh, okay, that's what the lightning was. It was a transporter thing. So, although here you literally see like an entire pod, so it's like it's not like they're being converted to energy and teleported into the machine. It's like they just ride the lightning down. So,
yeah,
they just Metallica album their way down. that was Metallica, right? Ride the Lightning.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
I believe so.
All right. Ray goes back to the kids and he brings them to the van. They leave. They're not sure where they're going. They're trying to take a route so they don't run across other people because it's like, if people see a running car, they're gonna stop us. They stop to use the restroom. Rachel runs off and goes by a river, and then she sees like one dead body, and then just like the whole river starts filling up with dead bodies. Which again, I don't know what this is because we can see the weapons vaporize people. So like, what's this?
Well, in the book, I know they used their main weapon was not their heat ray, which, by the way, as described in H.G. Wells, was a box that they took off their back. It looked like a camera box, and they manipulate it with hands and like move it around.
Oh, okay.
So that was the heat ray, but the main weapon was what they called the black gas, which was like, because that was the birth of chemical warfare was in that era.
Yeah.
So it's like, they were just gassing cities. Here they don't show that weapon at all.
Okay.
But I guess it's implied that like, well, when those bridges and shit collapse or whatever.
That's right.
Because they're destroying infrastructure as rapidly as people. So.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay. The National Guard rolls through. Robbie tries to hitch a ride because he wants to like join the army so he can join the fight. So this is very of the time. It's like, what are you gonna do? Should you join the military and fight against the terrorists? This unknown force that we can't lock down.
At least then it would be noble.
Yeah.
Instead of like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna go fight against the terrorists by what? Enriching Halliburton and a dozen other military contractors. And if I get my arms and legs blown off, guess who's not taking care of me? The government that started the war. Oh no. At least fighting an amorphous evil force. It's like, well, at least I'm fighting an evil force from without and not within.
They get back on the road. They move in the opposite direction of the army because, like, well, they're going to the fight, so it's like, let's get away from that.
They need to go the other way.
Ray offers Robbie to drive the car while he sleeps, and so he eventually does. Then we cut to like it's night, like Ray's sleeping. Robbie's driving when like start to run across a bunch of people. The car starts getting surrounded, and people want to ride. And the car starts getting wrecked. They get dragged out of the car. People start
people like become like the zombies from movies. Like they're just trying to rip through the windshield with their bare
Yeah, it's very unsettling. Yeah, and they like the car like runs into a pole, and then like the people are trying to take them out of the car, and then eventually Ray fires a gun off to like stop everybody, and then we get revealed where another guy has a gun held on him, and so like the guy takes the van, and he's like, "Hey, can I get my daughter out of the car?" He's like, "Yeah, okay," and then Ray drops the gun, so some other guy picks up his gun. And then the family just goes into this diner which still has electricity, but I don't think they're serving food, but they're doing stuff in there. They're preparing things. Um, they go in the diner, and then like you just kind of hear and slightly see like just gunfights over the van, which I'm not sure who ends up taking the van, but like it's just a fool's errand at this point because there's
Yeah,
too
it's
many
just people moving randomly in directions. Like
Yeah.
there's no like known safety anywhere. It's just like we're just moving east
Yeah.
or whichever direction because it's all based on rumors. Well, we hear they're over here. Now they're over there. And
Yeah. Ray starts having a breakdown. Rachel sustains her breakdown, so she just will continually have a breakdown for the rest of this movie. So.
Yeah, she's moving in the same direction. No lots of momentum there.
But this is like Ray feeling like just like there's nothing he can do right, and he doesn't think he's like I don't think I'm gonna save my kids, so I'm trying real hard. But I think Robbie says later on, he's like, you don't want to protect us, you just want to dump us off on mom so you can go save yourself, which is probably somewhat true, but they're just dealing with the circumstances. So
like, hey, don't say that out loud.
Hey, I think that. You can't think that too.
Yeah, that's my idea.
So now they're walking amongst the refugees. There's like photos of the missing up on like a bridge. So again, 9/11 stuff. Well, I guess any just horrific event.
That started showing up. 28 Days Later did that initially.
Yeah.
That's where I first remember seeing that when he's walking through Piccadilly, I think is what it's called. There's like just, looking for so-and-so.
There's a bunch of misinformation going on amongst the crowd because nobody knows what's going on. There's no communication. And then like they hear a train crossing signal, and everyone stops as the arms come down, and then just an on fire train just rolls through. It's like, okay, that's horrifying. It's like,
yeah, that was a pretty cool scene too. You definitely didn't see that one coming.
And it's just gone. It's like, all right, and the arms just lift up like nothing happened. It's like, what, a train went through? What are you talking about?
Yeah, the arms in the train coming up was the Close Encounters did that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because when he stopped and the thing comes above his car and the lights on everything go on and off. Yeah.
Okay. So the crowd's moving onto a ferry. The National Guard are directing people, so we see there is like a semblance of order going on here. Then we see a bunch of birds are seen flying, which Rachel notes that the trees are moving, so it's like, oh, the tripods are coming. Which I thought the birds would be moving away from the tripods, but it seems like the birds kind of like the tripods and fly towards them. So I don't know.
Yeah, they're trying to nest on them.
Yeah. So then tripod's revealed on top of the hill. It sounds off its alarm, and then like panic strikes the crowd. Now there's like 3 tripods looking down on all the people. Ray tries getting on the ferry, but he decides to go elsewhere, which I guess they just make a different move, and then they make it on the boat anyways. So I don't I completely like miss the I don't get the like the geographics of how this worked, but they got on the boat. And there's also like somebody they know shows up, and they're trying to stay together, and then eventually it's like, whatever, see ya. Because there's like some lady that knows him and her daughter, but then they just get split up and they're gone. The boat takes off. Robbie like runs and tried to grab people that are dangling off the ramp that they try to jump on as the ramp was lifting up. So now it's showing kind of like Robbie trying to run into action. It's like, I need to help people. So he seems a bit more admirable. He's not just a shitty teenager here. So he just needs some direction. Unfortunately, he has his father. So Then you see there's lights under the water, and then a tripod pops up out of the water, it tips over the ferry. A car rams into Ray and the kids, and they're like dragged away from the boat. And then they swim to the surface where there's just the prop is just spinning there, and
Yeah,
about ready to
which is
kill them.
wild. Yeah,
um, and then the tripods now have like tentacles that are like grabbing people out of the water, and Ray and the kids escapes, and this is like extra like, well, what now? What are these things doing? Um, um, so yeah, they get on the riverbank, which this is like a weird riverbank because like they're like they crawl out of the river like onto the side, and then suddenly they're on a hill and they can see a hill across the way. It doesn't make any sense, but it does look really cool because then they see like the hill across the way, and there's just a bunch of people running down a hill, and then a tripod's going after them, just like incinerating people. But then there's other tripods that are grabbing up people, and it's like, so it's like, okay, there's like either a change here, or it's like, no, now you notice there's different tripods for different reasons. A tripod, like the head of it, like moves right past them because they're again at sea level and on a giant hill at the same time. But it looks cool, so that's fine. And also, these things can float in water, so maybe it was just running in the river, so whatever. So yeah, then they walk into the forest, because that like the tripod that walks by them doesn't notice them, and you just start to see clothes fall out of the sky into the forest. It's very eerie looking. It's like, it might be just 9/11 stuff too, where it's just debris from the the destruction falling onto you. So, we cut to it's morning. They're walking amongst the other refugees again. You see the army's like fighting just over the hill. Robbie starts running towards the fight, wanting to join in. Ray tries to stop Robbie from jumping into the fight. Meanwhile, some people are like trying to take Rachel to safety because she's like, Ray, your parents, like, come with us. So, this is weird. I don't know why. It seems totally rational, but just weird all at the same time. So it's like, these people are trying to adopt a child. It's like, or are they taking it to safety? It's like, maybe both. I don't know. Then Ray just has to let Robbie go, and then he leaves to go get Rachel. He's like, wait, that's my daughter. He's like, oh, we're sorry. Then the hill just like erupts with fire, and then like one of the tripod heads like just emerges through the fire. It's very cool looking. And then just Humvees on fire just start rolling down the hill like all over the place. So,
yeah, it's a really amazing scene, and just the sound design in it is nuts.
yeah. And then Ray and Rachel like are running away, and then they cross over. They come across Harlan. This is Tim Robbins, who's just like defiantly raising a shotgun in the air and says like, "Come over here!" And then they're the out of all the people running and screaming, they're the only ones that respond. So apparently everyone else knows to avoid Harlan, but they don't. So they go on.
Harlan Ogilvy, yeah, he's a composite character of two other characters from the book.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Ogilvy is the philosopher of the new regime after the Martians take over London.
Oh, okay.
Like, we got to learn to survive. We got to live like rats. That's going to be the new thing. Yeah.
So yeah, in every version, are they specifically supposed to be Martians?
I don't. I believe in the book they were. I think in the 53, were they from Mars in the movie?
I can't remember.
This one they're not. They don't mention Mars at all.
But there is like they do like turn things red, which is because Mars is red. I thought that was like,
yeah, there is a red motif in this movie to their plants.
But I don't. Yeah, but I don't think they're from Mars. So
no, that would be ridiculous. We'd see that at this point. I don't know what we'd do to stop it. That's why Spielberg's thing about, well, they couldn't have them landing because we'd see them coming. It's like, yeah, and do what? Float in the air. I mean, okay. They're coming. Yay. Everyone get in a circle and die together. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, that's still like the mysterious thing is like, well, they still had to like ride spaceships over to send them through the lightning to the ground, but we never see those. So
yeah, they might have cloaking devices.
Yeah, that's true. So.
Klingons.
Yeah, I mean, like these machines they're getting in are like, thousands of years old. They have better stuff now. So
let me tell you about the aliens as envisioned in the book. They are creatures that do not have internal organs or digestive properties, so they have to drink and eat the blood of other things to live.
Oh, okay.
So they're very like tentacle like in H.G. Wells' description of them. So they are creatures of great intellect, but physically they're just a sack of meat around a brain that's not nearly as survivable as, like, say, we are.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we eat things, we eat plants, other animals, or whatever, but we don't like harvest their blood to use as our own. Like, we have our own internal processes for that. But
That's
apparently,
a separate system.
yeah, apparently the aliens didn't have that, nor did they ever develop the wheel in their technology.
Okay.
Which is something Wells put in. They tried to make that happen here because I don't know if you've ever seen how the legs move on the. There's one scene about how the legs are kind of like inter-rotating on the tripods
Yeah.
because they're not being driven by like piston, like AT-AT walkers are just driven by wheels. Like,
Yeah.
you know, walking robots we envision would be these industrial things driven by flywheels. Apparently, though, not explained how the Martians or the aliens never used the wheel, which is like, well, that's strange because that seems like basic, you know, geometry and engineering. You would have that structure, but if your mind didn't work that way, maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. That's when you get into this whole thing about what it'd be like to talk to an alien. It's like, we don't know. We've never talked to one. I mean, there's all kinds of aliens on our planet, like cats, dogs, whales. Them either, you know. We have no idea.
Now, if you want a deep dive into someone getting into the intricacies of this stuff, Hail Mary's very good at that. So
yeah, and you can watch the Arrival.
Yeah.
Or you can watch the Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, the one with Paul Winfield, where the people only speak in metaphors. And they capture Picard to try to tell him basically the story of Gilgamesh in their own version.
Yeah.
About why they should be allies, but they have to live this because they don't speak. I forget.
Datar when the nights fall.
Yeah, they always have a word or a phrase. It's like, when will you call us again? When it rises, and they're like, what rises? It was like, yeah, what if universal translators don't work in Star Trek? Like, these people they only think in.
Yeah, because there's not a direct word thing they speak. It's kind of a riddle kind of language where the sentences mean something, but it's because it's a metaphor. The universal translator doesn't know how to interpret it. So.
Yeah, I mean, even human languages are bizarre, where it's like, oh, the stress you put on the syllable changes the meaning of the word in some languages. It's like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, that's why I was like working on a story because it's like I'd like going too deep on the universal translator because I was like, well, technically that shouldn't work how it's portrayed.
Yeah.
Because everybody should be making the syllables of their languages and then you're just hearing it. So there actually should be a sequences. They should be talking, but you should be hearing something different. So that shouldn't actually connect at all. It should be way fucking weirder, which means the universal translator is like changing something in your mind to see them speak English.
Yeah.
So then I went to that. It's like, well, if that's how that works, then how else would it fuck up your mind? So
why, if we can do that, why are we making sounds to communicate?
Yeah. But again, it's Star Trek, so it's like, well, we just need to make this happen. It's like we can't have every episode be like, now we have to like decode a new language, even though that was a lot of hey, we met new life. How do we talk to it? It's like, I don't know. Let's figure it out. So
shoot at it. See if you can eat it.
So yeah, they go hide in the basement. Ray tries to call him Rachel while Harlan sharpens his shovel. It's actually, that's something I learned recently. That's actually something you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be sharpening your shovel a lot. So.
Oh yeah. Get into the ground that way.
Yeah, which totally makes sense. I've just never sharpened a shovel. It's like, oh, but I don't shovel a lot, so yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of. I've shoveled a few times. I have the same shovel I bought when I bought this house 24 years ago. So that's how much I shovel. Still very clean, but I do shovel.
I've only dug one foxhole, so which is a hole to do, especially with that e-tool. So It's a shovel.
Yeah, you're not using a
shovel about
full
this big.
size
No.
mechanically advantaged
No,
shovel.
you're
No, it's
shoveling from your knees.
yeah, that's fun.
Or you're getting back pain. It's however you want to do it, man.
Who brought the auger?
Oh yeah, that was it was hard. Yeah, we had to basically we had to like abandon digging our first foxhole because there's like there's no way we're getting through all this shit. So it was basically rock.
They're just hitting boulders.
Yeah, when it starts sparking, that's when you know it's like, all right, this isn't the place.
Throw a grenade in there, loosen that shit up. I'd be mad if you did that.
Ray fails to know any lullabies when Rachel asks for one, and then he sings her like, "Is this a Beach Boys song or whatever?"
I think so.
Like,
yeah.
what else is I want something like that. Whatever. This is why you don't have Tom Cruise sing in a movie.
I think it actually worked because there was also a lot of discordant noise and shit in the background too.
Yeah.
And he's trying to calm her down by weirdly singing this song off key, which makes it kind of an effective scene.
Yeah, and he also has like tears in his eyes, so it's just like fully uncomfortable. So.
And this is about the point where the movie starts to fall apart for me.
Harlan offers up some peach schnapps. What is schnapps, Nathan? I don't know.
It's some kind. It's basically a German liqueur.
Okay.
That it's like you infuse it with because there's peppermint schnapps, there's peach schnapps, there's elderberry.
I just always assumed it was flavored vodka, so I have no idea what it is.
Essentially it is.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, essentially.
Some
of the peppermint stuff is actually high quality, good stuff. It's like they use actual peppermint like flour.
Oh, okay.
That's real. I have a bottle of that. That's actually good.
Huh.
But it's for like fun drinking.
Yeah.
Because it's low voltage. It's not like, Mad Dog. Not Mad Dog, like Wild Turkey or something. It's not like that.
Or whatever that Polish alcohol it is. It's 99% alcohol or something.
Oh, the potato vodka, yeah.
Harlan says he lost his whole family, which afterwards you have no idea if that's a metaphor or real.
Yeah. I mean, at some point he might have.
I lost my whole family. It's like yesterday? It's like, no, like a month ago because they stopped believing in my nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, you don't get a lot with Harlan, but like, do you expect like he was some guy that was prepping for something and now he's happy because there's an excuse for his prepping?
This particular character, there's a few things I know. Number one, he says he's an EMT.
Yeah.
A paramedic of some kind, which I've known a few of those. Those guys get burned out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So he probably already had some emotional baggage anyway. And then the world coming apart just kind of basically confirmed his worldview in a way he never thought it would happen. And it's like almost being so successful you don't know how to be victorious because it's like, see, I knew that just the world was full of bad, and now it's confirmed, but I don't exactly know how to handle it. Yeah. So he's trying to develop this weird philosophy about how we're gonna just fight him from like termite mounds. We're not. We're gonna have to figure out how to live in this new world, and because it's like his life was terrible before, but it's like maybe I can make the best of this. Maybe I won't screw this up too. And he's so deranged he just can't see the danger. And of course, Tom Cruise is just trying to save his kids. Like, we're in the bunker with the nut.
But that was like the amazing thing about that Last of Us episode with Nick Offerman, where he's like this lonely guy who's like hates everything, hates everyone, hates the government, and like finally his wishes come, the world is ending, and like he's like actually like the happiest in his life.
Yeah, he's fulfilled. Like this all finally makes sense.
And then even when the world's ending, he it's like, oh hey, I guess I'm gay, and here's my boyfriend. Like he gets everything he wants at the end of the world.
I like when him and his boyfriend are arguing there towards the end, and he's like telling him, he's like, look, you can't just live like this. You can't relish this. It's like, I've heard all this stuff, for years and years, the government's the Nazis and all this. And he's like, no, the government was the Nazis. They killed everyone that was left.
Yeah.
To stop the spread of the disease. And he's like, okay, I know, but you can't relish this. You can't act like this was a win for anything. It was a great argument between those two.
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this you got everything you wanted, but everyone had to lose for you to get it. And it's just being proven right at this point doesn't matter. When nobody's here to hear it, it's like I guess you're right, but
Yeah.
only you just scream that into the void because it's the only thing listening.
And then they had to kill themselves. So.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have to, but
well, one guy didn't. So, but the other
but
guys,
his life would have no meaning.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, in the video game, that guy did not kill himself, though.
Oh no, he did.
Or I mean, he didn't kill himself with his.
Bill didn't kill himself. Frank
Yeah.
did. Because they don't like you never see them together in the video game. They're just talked about. Because it's like, because you just see him like, oh, he's like a whole, he's like a prepper and stuff like that, and then you see like, and he's talking about like, Frank, and then you realize like, oh, they were a couple, and Frank got bitten, decided to hang himself and he got bitten because he didn't like Bill anymore, and decided it was easier to go out in the wasteland than live with Bill anymore. So it's actually some way a more tragic thing because they don't like like tragically as lovers and stuff like that. It's like, no, they left like hating each other, and then now one of them's dead and they like, hung themselves in a bathroom somewhere. So
yeah,
and then Bill's just left to like, well, I guess I'll carry on with nobody again. Because I believe Bill's still.
That series was such a downer. I will not be watching the second season.
Yeah. Well, you said you stopped watching at that episode. It's like,
that was pretty much
if it gets worse from here, I'm not saying.
I'm just tapped out. I'm like, okay.
I mean, that's probably like the most emotionally heavy as it gets. Because after that, it's just more. I mean, like I can't. I made you. I think I made you watch the opening of the video game, but I don't think I ever watched you. I may even showed you the end stuff, but I mean, it follows the video game pretty closely. They add some stuff.
Well, I've watched all the cutscenes.
Yeah, so you know what happens. So
yeah, I didn't have the PlayStation system, so
it's only gonna be weird when like the second season comes out and you're like, well, I played the second game, and it's like, are they using the full source material? It's like, because this isn't going to end well. And then I have no idea what they do for a third season. So,
well, that actor, the guy Pedro Pascal, he needs to slow down.
Yeah,
he's going to have some kind of heart attack or something. He can't. 5 TV series and 3 major release movies a year, and
yeah. But it's like The Last of Us. I think it's only like an 8-episode series, so like I know the production lasts like 2 years, but I don't know actually like what his involvement is. Like,
well, that's true.
He might be able to shoot everything in 3 months, and then because that's the thing with actors, like with directors, like a lot of times they have to stick with the movie through its entire production. So it's like that's why you have like, oh, it takes like 2 to 4 years to put out a movie for some directors, but then like an actor, it's like you can do like 3 major movies in a year because you just gotta hit your marks in the shooting window and then move on to the next thing and move on to the next thing.
Well, like this movie was shot in 6 weeks. So this was shot really fast because everyone was like between projects. It's like, yeah, you can get us all. Now the post production on this went on a lot longer than that.
Yeah, but like all the principal photography people are done that by then. So
yeah, they worked.
I mean, I was like, didn't you say it was like 3 weeks they had Tom Cruise for Collateral? So yeah, he's knocking out movies.
Yeah, here's the script. Hit your mark. Thank you. Here's $4 million or whatever.
It'd probably be $20 million for Tom Cruise. So, or whatever Robert Downey Jr. is going to get to play Dr. Doom. I think they said he's getting like $60 million in the movie. So,
oh wow, really? Well, yeah.
I think how it works out, I don't know what the actual deal is, but
he might be getting back end money that's equal to that, or does Disney do that?
Oh, points? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. But the points are always a racket too, because that's why somehow a movie will make $1 billion, but like the movie studio say, well, we didn't make a profit because of advertising. It's like, geez, what'd you advertise on the fucking moon? What's going on here?
Well, it's like our profit sharing. You know how that was calculated.
Yeah.
For the because remember all our bonuses for all the auto workers is published in the front of every major newspaper because it must be discussed around every kitchen table in the country. My income is everyone else's business, so
Yeah.
but because I'm just scumbags making all this money. But it used to be it was based on the domestic sales of automobiles only. SUVs, trucks were not part of the formula.
Huh.
Now they don't sell automobiles anymore. It's
Yeah.
all SUVs. That's why, like, oh, you get these whopper, it's like, oh, the auto workers got X amount of dollars. It's like, well, yeah, that's because they quit making they had to switch it over. What were they going to base it on? The sales of spark plugs? I mean, they had to over to what they make.
So yeah, Harlan says he lost his whole family, says he's got food and water for days, so things are looking up, but he seems weird, so we know it's not going to work out.
Yeah, this guy's like degrading by the minute.
What kind of accent is he supposed to have here, Tim Robbins? Is this supposed to be like a Boston accent or like a New York accent?
East Coast derivative.
Okay, yeah, I guess so, yeah. They talk about the aliens burying machines before people even lived here, which I guess that's a fascinating idea because it's like, does that mean we were grown by the aliens or we're just a happenstance of their taking over the Earth? Like, why is it now ripe for the taking? Why'd they leave? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff, it's great to not answer. This just leaves it up to your imagination. So, says this is an extermination of humans. Harlan says he was an EMT and like he sees lots of death, which like you said that makes sense. I mean, yeah, what we watch? What's that Nicolas Cage movie?
Bringing Out the Dead.
Yeah. I think that's probably a true look at EMT life of an EMT. So. Yeah, here he says like staying put. Like he says running, that's what will kill you, but like staying put, which I don't know. This is kind of I guess this is his plan. So make everybody come to him. That's his plan. So there's a noise outside, and a part of the upper floor caves in. They open a like there's like some obstruction in the window to hide them. I guess I don't know. They're kind of happenstance here. It's not great window blocking, but it's a thing. And so they see the machines outside, and they're kind of like whipping up the ground with their arms. They're kind of like spinning around and just like chugging up the dirt. Harlan wants to attack the tripods from underneath, which Ray just thinks he's crazy, which he is. But then Ray finds some growing red vines. That's like alien plants going on. So they're like reforming the earth. Harlan talks to Rachel, but he's being creepy. It's like, I'll save you. And stuff like this. Like, yeah, this isn't. This
is going wrong in so many ways.
Harlan starts turning on Ray for not being enthusiastic with Harlan's plan. It's like, come on, guy. Then a camera tentacle comes down to the basement. It's like looking around, which is kind of reminiscent of like the spider bot scene in Minority Report, like in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, they hide from it. Like the eye follows a rat around for the moment, and so like whenever that does that, like you see them kind of make big moves in the background where they're sneaking under the tentacle arm. Which this is more like machine-like tentacle arm, which is both like kind of fleshy tentacle arms and machine-like ones. Which I don't know. I guess it just makes it more creepy, but like I don't know if what's actually going on there. Like, are the machines actually like organisms themselves, or what's going on here?
Yeah, let's see. Like, yeah, what would you call that? Like organic,
biomechanical.
Yeah, biomechanical.
Okay. Harlan grabs an axe and he's like wanting to strike the tentacle, but like Ray like silently convinces him not to do that, and so yeah. When Harlan like is like making his way under the tentacle to go meet up with Ray, he like knocks over something, and so then the tentacle starts following after the noise, and they like hide behind a mirror, which is a good looking scene because the thing just sees itself in the mirror, and then it goes over it and then past them, and then it comes back, and then Rachel's foot like loses tension and like kicks out. and then like she brings the foot back, and then the aliens like see the foot, and so they're following it, and then like they get behind the mirror, and there's like, oh, it's just a shoe. Um, which again, that doesn't really make sense. Like, why would they know to like take her shoe off to try to throw him off? But whatever. It's just it's a tense scene. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, they're gonna get found out. But yeah, then the tentacle leaves. But then like moments later, the aliens themselves now walk down into the basement, and these are the weird like, oh, the aliens themselves also have like tripod legs, and
Yeah.
they kind of have like hooded heads. They actually kind of look like the aliens from Independence Day, like almost, but
Yeah, they move strange. They clearly have faces, but they're also kind of reptilian.
yeah. They got big eyeballs, so they can almost have like an anime look to them. So like I don't know, like there's sometimes they seem like children here, like the way they're playing with stuff. So I don't actually know if these are like adult or children aliens, or what do you think?
Yeah, we don't know much about them, so I just go back to like the spirit of H.G. Wells.
Okay.
Is like they are just cold creatures that have an obvious curiosity.
Okay.
But they're just they're just essentially evil. They're just if a parasite was a thinking organism.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, of course we're just going to use things and kill things because that's what makes sense to us. We don't have any. There's no depth to us as beings. We don't have like great culture, or art, or anything. We just survive to survive, and we've been seeding the universe with our whatever we're doing for quite a while, apparently. So.
They also start just drinking water that's just like spilling down the walls. So
Yeah.
like, oh, they have machines and they're just grabbing water with handsfuls and drinking it. So,
well, it kind of shows that they like have the same requirements for life that we do. It's like,
yeah,
oh, they drink water, they're breathing our atmosphere. There's something about this that was like, oh no, it's like, yeah, they know about this planet. I don't know why they drink water from a muddy hole. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. They could have blind spots. Obviously, they have blind spots.
Yeah.
They can build these giant destructive machines and shoot people into the earth and lightning, but they don't understand like disease and biology.
Or it's hubris. They didn't expect that it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Harlan loads his shotgun and racks it very silently.
Yeah, that's pretty good for racking a shotgun silently.
He's like looking to fire at the aliens, and then Ray silently fights Harlan to keep them from doing so. Then the alien horn sounds upstairs, and then like the aliens leave the basement. Harlan's angry with Ray now because he stopped them from like shooting the alien and getting themselves immediately killed. Presumably, I don't know, but
I don't think the other aliens would have thrown up their back leg and surrendered. Oh, take the ship now. You've won.
Then it's kind of like a moment later. It's kind of like a rough cut here because then we have like Ray starts to feel the red mist that the aliens are spraying around. And then we hear Harlan freaking out. And then Ray watches a human have their blood sucked out by one of the machines that like just the tentacle grabs him. It throws him behind a truck so you don't see him like stab into the guy, but you see the blood being pulled out of him. And so that's when Ray gets disgusted by that because then he realizes that the red mist they're spraying around is just human blood or something or whatever. So, and then presumably that's what the red vines are made out of too. It's like, okay, that's evil. So, which again, like this must go back to like how you're talking about how they were originally imagined as just like kind of almost vampire aliens or whatever that just eat blood. Ray's digging and freaking out. He says like, we're the resistance, Ray. The occupations always fails. Again, this is just like I don't think we're in Iraq at this time, so we must have just been in Afghanistan at this time. So I'm not sure if that was saying anything about that, but so yeah, then Ray gets like a pit in the stomach as he realizes he's gonna have to kill Harlan, and so Ray blindfolds Rachel. And she sings a song to herself as Ray and goes to kill Harlan. So, and then Ray comes back all distraught. So, so have that being the end of Act 2. We got Act 3, and everything is is made useless because Ray and Rachel are sleeping on the couch, and Rachel's awake and hears a noise, and then immediately she wakes up. There's a tentacle staring at her, and she starts screaming. Ray starts cutting the tentacle with an axe, and it's like, well, Harlan was going to do this anyway. So basically, he killed Harlan for no reason because now he's doing everything Harlan would have done. So, um, Rachel runs off. Ray goes to look for her. Ray goes outside where he sees like more of the red vines growing all over the place. There's like red mist in the air, and then a tripod foot steps near Ray. He hops in a truck, and the tentacle like grabs it through the window and flips the truck over. Um, then he sees Ray. Yeah, he sees Rachel get grabbed, and so then he runs to a Humvee, finds, and there's just a bunch of hand grenades loose in there. And so he tosses a hand grenade at the tripod, but it just gets blown up as immediately as it touches the force field. Then the tripod picks him up and just throws him in a basket that's in the back. There's also some weird red orifice thing above them, and then a tentacle will come out and grabs a guy, and then presumably does terrible things to them.
Yeah, the Scott Siegler has a book where they had some kind of alien spaceship has an opening like that. It's called a Spanus. Space
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's fun. I forget which book it is, and I didn't. Scott Ziegler came up with that. Not me. Always remembered this. Beware the horror of the Spanus. There's nothing good that comes from going through a Spanus.
Well, yeah, here the tentacles that come out of the Spanus are organic. They're not like the machines. So it's like, I don't know what's going on here. Again, this must be my biomechanical, but this is a part that's not clad in machinery. But this is also a different kind of tripod. This doesn't have like the
yeah, this has the harvesting sacks on it, or the harvesting cages on it.
Yeah,
but it does have the shields.
And they also seem to be smaller because they got to stay close to the ground to grab people. So, whereas the other ones are like 4 stories tall or whatever. Ray finds Rachel in a catatonic state, so now she's just completely useless.
At least she's not screaming.
Yeah, at least that. Ray gets grabbed by a tentacle. He grabs the grenades as he's getting pulled up, and then like other people kind of grab onto him. He gets like pulled like most of the way through, but then his arms or his legs left out. But then he gets pulled out, and he like spits the hand grenade pins out of his mouth. So it's like, all right, pull the pins on the hand grenade. Which I know people like that's a common thing is like pulling the pin with your hand grenade with your teeth, and I know some people have countered that like you'd rip your teeth out doing that, and it's like having thrown hand grenades. It's not necessarily because of that. There's like 3 parts to a hand grenade, so it's not just the pin. So there's like a little clip that goes over the spoon. You have to sweep that off of it, like it just ejected away from the thing itself. Then you have to pull the pin, and then when you let it go, then it'll explode. But so presumably he swept the pins because that's never addressed in any. I've never seen any depiction of sweeping away the clasp on the grenade in anything. So it's always just pin grenade.
I've always the way I've understood it is the pin is actually crimped around on the back, like it's like where it folds over, what's holding it in when it's like in this L position that holds the pin in. And if you took a screwdriver and just broke those crimps, then you could probably pull it out with your teeth after you swept the safety catch off of it.
I mean, it's not that hard to pull it once you swipe off the safety catch. It's like it's not that hard to pull the pin, so you could probably do it. It's just there's more processes to a grenade than.
It's just a cool metaphor in the movie. He just spits like 5 grenade pins out. That's going to be really destructive.
Yeah. So there's like a National Guard guy in there. And when he sees the pins, he's like, "Get down!" And then the baskets fall off as the machine starts blowing up, and then the explosions just completely destroy the machine from the inside out. The basket actually falls in like a kind of like a creek or whatever, so like it breaks their fall because it doesn't. This is like like a 30-foot drop or whatever, so that would not be good. So yeah, they're able to kill one machine here. So
well, that just shows like outside of the shields, those things are not even as robust as like a tank or something.
Yeah.
Like it can be taken out, which is the first time we see like something defeated.
Yeah. Next morning, the refugees are walking towards Boston. The red vines are like turning to dust, so it's like, okay, something's not taking here. A dead tripod is revealed, like having fallen against a building, and some army guy says it started walking around in circles and then fell. Uh, they end up walking near another tripod that's acting erratically, and then birds start landing on the tripods, which Ray points out, like, hey, they don't have shields. Like, so then the army gets a bunch of squads out with javelin rockets, and they're able to like knock it down, and kill it with rockets. Um, just because they can now. Like, they didn't take down the shields, but like they're gonna take advantage of it. So, uh, then a soldier the soldiers surround the tripod after it's fallen, and the door opens up, and there's like a sickly liquid that pours out. And then an alien crawls out and just dies, which is
And its eyes turn cloudy immediately. It's really weird.
And you also can see its mouth. I'm not sure if its mouth meant to be like it's kind of like mucusy, like it's got like bronchitis or something, but that's kind of how, or if that's just how it looks. I'm not sure, but that's what you can kind of take of it. It's sick. You can tell. Which is reminiscent of the 53 one where you see like the hand reaching out and dying. So here you see its face. But I mean, you do see its face in the 53 version, but like not at the last moment there. So
yeah, no, the 53 version, they made an actual alien thing.
Yeah,
I mean, this is Alien too, but that was freaky because it had the kaleidoscope eyes and stuff.
And then Ray makes it to Marianne, who's still alive. Her parents are alive. Rachel runs to her, and then Robbie's revealed to still be alive, which I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. It's like, did he bring out the fight? Did he get to see what he wanted and just ran home, or what's going on here? But like, it seems to be like
he hid inside a tank.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, he survived the ordeal. He didn't just get blown up. He's, presumably he can still hear. He's not, he doesn't have burn scars all over his body. So, but he's not continuing the fight. So at some point he decided to just carry.
He got enough of that. He's like, yeah.
Then we get an overview of all the dead tripod machines, and then we get a voiceover that.
Oh wait, what? At the end, his grandparents are Anne Robinson and Gene Barry from the 53 War.
Okay, I didn't notice that. All right.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either until somebody pointed it out, and then I watched the scene, and it's like, yep, that's them. Anne Robinson's still alive. She's 95 now.
Oh, okay.
Gene Barry died in his 90s. It was like, wasn't long after this. This was his last movie, and the original War of the Worlds was his second movie. So that's kind of it's like the beginning and the end.
And yeah, and this would have been, so it's 53. This is 2005, so that would have been 52 years later.
Yeah. Somebody had something that was shocking the other day. It's like, remember, kids, right now the 80s are further away than the 50s were in the 80s or something like that. It's that kind of nonsense. Like, no, don't say it like that.
Well, remember how like 60s and 70s music, like that was like that was classical music in the 90s, and now it's like, well, the 90s are the same decades away from now.
Yeah, the 9 Inch Nails is like, hey, remember the Platters and the doo-wop band?
So yeah, we got a voiceover from Morgan Freeman that basically explains that the aliens died because of Earth and germs, and so with the hubris to try to attack man and not realize that nature could fight back too. So but yeah, that was always like the neat idea about War of the Worlds, is like, oh, we didn't do anything to stop them, so it's not like germs were on our side. It just came to our aid.
Well, actually, like Morgan Freeman points out, like, we paid the price of germs through billions of human deaths before the aliens, so we've already fought that battle and lost, or at least now we're a weird truce.
Yeah.
Could we bioengineer our own in Wuhan? And we don't want to go there. But yeah, that's
so that's 2005's War of the Worlds. I think it's a movie with a lot of neat energy and or imagery, but also a very flawed movie. But I like it. So
yeah, I agree with that assessment. Like I said, it falls apart. The last 25% of it is like, okay. And I don't know why it almost becomes from the Tim Robbins scene on, it becomes a different movie.
Yeah, yeah,
It even, and this is another one of like the Steven Spielberg like dark shot movies, like Minority Report. It looks like Minority Report. It's you know the same kind of camera work and stuff, which makes sense because it's all the same crew. But
yeah,
yeah, but this one definitely, like from the Tim Robbins scene on, it's like it takes a turn. It's almost like they're running out of time. It's like, well, we got to end this. You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um,
Well, I
but
see. Well, I mean, that's like I don't even think you get like this kind of like defiance in the 53 version where like the shields are down and they have them fire rockets at it and like look we killed one, but it's like in like a 53 one like they just fall down and then like they're dead and it's like oh we didn't do anything. Here
well, in the
it's like
53 version, they all the scientists and stuff, they end up going to a church. It's like, we're just going to die.
yeah.
And just in there singing how great God is. And you just hear like the Martian cannons firing and stuff outside. And then all of a sudden you hear I don't know, like the sound of like the Millennium Falcon's
Yeah.
engines not starting. And then they go outside and he goes and he touches the alien arms and he's like, they're afraid. No, he doesn't do that. It's like they're dead.
um but yeah, but again that's how this is built is like the third act actually has to be like it's it kind of has to be hollow because we didn't do anything to
Yeah.
end the aliens. Like that's the point. That's the point of War of the Worlds. But I mean, what I love about it is just like when there's like movies that deal with the apocalypse and like, all right, well now that you can't go home and you got to travel somewhere else, like what are the point to point things you have to do to travel through this stuff and like. And when like, all right, we got aliens shooting us and stuff like that, and it's like, all right, how do you travel through the world? And I always love stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Those are cool. When it's well done, it's cool.
yeah. I don't know, any poorly ones done come to mind? Like, what's the
Like, there's not too many like apocalypse movies that I can think of that I really like, where it's like a lot of survival. I'm trying to think of like Stephen King's The Stand, like the book and the 90s TV series has some of that.
Yeah.
Because that's just like a total wipeout. There's like a handful of people. It's like, we don't have to do much. You're not struggling against anything to survive except Satan, maybe, and his minions. But really, it's like, oh, where if you can find canned food, you're good for decades of just being alive until you get like a tooth infection and die. But other than that, like, I'm trying to think of what are some good, apocalyptic survival movies. Maybe some of the Mad Max movies.
Yeah.
Those are just running car chases for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we solved problems, but now we're killing each other.
Well, did you ever watch the Last Man on Earth TV show?
Yeah, I watched the first season of that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like how it deals with stuff like that. Or what's that Australian one where it's like the guy like
Oh, The Quiet Earth?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that one's kind of cool. That's a guy who's like trying to stop himself from going insane.
Yeah.
Like, again, he has the resources of the earth. And he's also an engineer. So he could like just hook up a generator and just park like, a fuel truck. I think he's in New Zealand actually. But
okay,
yeah, he's
it's New Zealand because that director is from New Zealand. The guy who did Free Jack, he directed that movie. So
yeah. Quiet Earth, I like. I enjoy that.
Yeah, the I Am Legend is pretty good. I was surprised how like modern the book felt when I read it, where it's like it's a lot of mechanical stuff and like how to take apart electronics and do other things with it. There it's weirder because it's like vampires who are fully like cognizant and like are trying to trick you into killing you. Whereas in the movie version, they're basically just zombies.
They're like animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no cunning there. What was that weird one? The Omega Man. That was the one with Charlton Heston. Yeah, that was kind of post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. Actually, I think that was based on I Am Legend.
Omega Man. It was a more. It was more new. It was a more. It was like a funky 70s I Am Legend.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was another one that comes to mind. I mean, then of course there's Damnation Alley. Let's build a truck and go across the planet. But that's almost like borderline. Well, they always have to stop
I
for
don't remember
fuel.
that one.
The one with George Papard and
was that
the other guy.
was that the one that was like trying to compete with like Star Wars or something, and or
Yeah, it
no?
basically had the same budget as the original Star Wars,
Okay.
but it didn't look like it looked like a TV movie, except
Yeah.
like the special effects of where the Earth had tilted off its axis from World War Three or axis from World War Three. Like those are really cool, difficult to do special effects at that time. That's where all the budget went, and they had the damnation vehicles, like the ones with the three wheels. Which, by the way, those still run. Somebody's had. They were called like the GMC Trimax or something. Like, it was partially a movie prop, partially a real vehicle. But
And you ever see that Antarctic vehicle that we built in like the 30s or something?
the one that looks like a train, but it's on wheels.
Yeah, it has giant wheels. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that thing's crazy.
Oh yeah. Crazy engineering too.
And they just left it there, and it just got like, I think it just got caught up in an iceberg, and now it was like in the middle of an iceberg at some point, and then it got split open and just has fallen into
Yeah,
the
it's
ocean
left.
somewhere. So
No one even knows why they're down there. It's
yeah.
like, why are we down here? Or people they want to go there and it's like, show me where the thing happened. That didn't actually happen. But
Or what was the one where the one ship gets stuck down there? Shackleton.
oh yeah, the book Endurance.
Endurance, yeah. Because I thought that was like old timey, like sail ship stuff. I was like, no, that was like the 40s or something like
Yeah, it was like right before World War II. Yeah.
that. Because that thing had like a motor and a propeller on it. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. I thought this was like a sail ship, but no, just because it's a wooden boat doesn't mean that it doesn't have modern trappings on it. So sometimes you just need something that floats that has a big hull so you can put a bunch of crap in it. So
I think the reason they used wooden boats down there was if they bashed into icebergs and stuff, the wood was a little more giving than a steel hull.
yeah.
I think that's why they were using wooden boats down there. But nobody knows to this day why. It's like they've been continuously going down there forever. And it's like, why the hell are we down there? Oh, we're doing research. Okay, explain. Well, research. And it's like every country in the world's there. There's weird treaties. I think that Mountains of Madness stuff from H.P. Lovecraft is really what's going on. They just keep sending people into the interior, and the geometry of the buildings drives them insane.
Yeah.
That's why it's called the Mountains of Madness.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Because I know there's you think it's just a giant iceberg and that's the whole continent, but there is land under there, so I'm not sure if they're drilling to get in there. There's a bunch of fossil stuff down there. There's also very thin atmosphere, so there's a lot of atmospheric and space stuff you can do down there. Because it's technically like the closest thing to space than anywhere else on there. Well, I mean, you got the equator, but for like being on Earth and basically being in space, it's the pole for us.
It's so damn cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thin atmosphere, and they never see the sun is weird.
And also, I think there's also like comparative stuff to space you can do down there, where it's like, well, if we can survive in Antarctica, then we can survive in space. So
yeah,
there's stuff like that down there, but there's probably
and the Mountains of Madness.
yeah.
The great old ones reside down there.
And there was that. It was like a very flawed but very cool. Almost. At some point, it kind of was on the same level with Andromeda Strain, the Helix show.
Oh yeah.
Season 1, and then it like went crazy, but then it was like, well, that's stupid, but I want to see where this goes. And then season 2 was like just weird. It's like I kind of want to be in the Antarctic station again. But now we're like in like some like working for the church in the middle of like South Africa or South America or something like that. So
yeah, it definitely took a turn.
It also got very comic booky, where it's basically, oh, everything's being perpetrated by these people who have discovered immortality because of things or whatever. So.
I like the lady has to grind her teeth down with a Dremel. They're constantly regenerating,
Yeah.
so she has to keep them at a certain length.
Well, we're saying your probe into space contained the supercut of the imperfect collection that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what 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 scene from this movie is shoving into space for the aliens to intercept on the way over?
Oh, I have to do the emergence of the tripod in
Okay.
New Jersey because that's like everyone knows that scene, and that basically establishes the tone of the movie from then on. So
Yeah.
we're just going to be running from things, horrible, horrible things.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Things that will not explain themselves.
yeah.
What else can you find us on Letterbox username VHE? 1 out of 5 stars. What are we getting? War of the Worlds,
I'm giving
2005.
it 3.
Okay.
I'm going to give it 3. Could have got 4 or 5, but like I said, it significantly changes
Yeah.
halfway through, or 75% of the way through. It kind of takes a change, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of slows down, and then it doesn't stick the landing when the movie slows down.
Yeah,
Because I guess you could have just kept going up, like let's have this be bigger and more explosive, but they went a different way, which probably was the correct thing to do, but they just didn't stick the landing with it. So
yeah. Yeah, the 53 versions movie is actually a better movie story wise.
Yeah, it's also
Kinda
just simpler. So
Yeah, it's simpler, but you also care about the two main characters. He's also a big time scientist.
yeah,
So it's kind of there's more of a 1,000-foot view in that than there is in this. Because he's actually working to like because when they cut the the sensor off the alien ship in the 53 movie, he like grabs it and brings it out with him, and they hook it up at this lab, and it's like, oh, they see in only these colors, and
okay.
that's cool. Remember the one scientist is like they might smell colors or have a completely different way of
Yeah.
doing things, and then the camera that they have hooked up, it's pointing at Anne Robinson, the main. It's like, oh, I think it likes you, and she's just watched these things like murder her uncle, things, and she's looking into it like this. So it's like you get a better view of the world. I mean, no one does anything. It's just we're just going to keep trying things.
And when you see the army attack it, like they throw everything at it. They show everything being used. Like you get tanks, you get artillery, you get some what's the small?
Apaches.
Well, I don't have Apaches then, but they probably have some helicopters. But um, mortar rounds, they throw everything at it in the 53 version, and none of it works. And eventually a nuke. So
Oh, you mean the 53 version? Yeah, they
yeah,
throw everything. The Sherman tanks are out
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Because we don't really see in this movie. You don't really see that stuff. We see that stuff being deployed, but we don't see it getting used. It's just implied it doesn't work. So, and then at the end, they just use javelin rockets.
Modern movie. That's all they have left.
Yeah.
My favorite modern movie for the army is attacking something ridiculous. Is the first Cloverfield movie.
Yeah.
When they walk out into the street and there's just like a Crusader artillery thing firing on the move, and you're like, what the hell? Oh my god. And then you pan over and there's this giant creature being hit by all kinds of missiles and stuff from everywhere. But see, the thing about Cloverfield that was cool is that stuff was like moderately effective. Like they weren't killing it, but they were forcing it to move in a certain direction, whereas this is just ridiculous. You're just going against something you can't entirely stop.
Yeah, the Cloverfield monster. It's like you can attack it from the sky because it doesn't. It's not like Godzilla. It doesn't have a laser that can reach you. So
yeah,
so you can keep throwing artillery and airplanes at it. So.
But just the thought of them doing that in Manhattan.
Yeah,
it's like now you've just like, well, we've given up on all semblance of like, yeah, lots of people are gonna die, but we got to stop. Just gonna fire cannons off at a city. Now in H.G. Wells. In the War of the Worlds, the book, there, the British battleship does destroy one of the tripods.
Yeah,
because it's not implied that they have shields, necessarily in that, but it's just like, oh, it's made out of a metal, like we can't like penetrate it or something. Because they would fire like artillery, but the thing is, the tripod move very fast in the book, so it's like you couldn't set up an embattlement because they just start. They take the box off and just start shooting the heat ray everywhere, or the black gas, which no one had gas masks to stop it. So anytime you try to do a fixed fortification, they just blow you up. But like when they got in water, they got slow because the legs were being drug in the, what was it called? The HMS Thunderchild or something. It had huge, like massive artillery things, and it blew the legs off of one. And it just fell into the water. But they're like, yeah, we got him. And then like 3 others just waded in and fired heat guns at it and destroyed it. It's like, well, you can destroy them as long as you're on the water, but you can only attack them one at a time. And you're using that groovy like pre-World War I dreadnought stuff, which means the boats had to take an hour to turn in a circle. It's like the stuff they have today where the whole boat leans sideways and it just comes around, you know.
Or just fires a missile off and the missile goes in that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably the dumbest and the coolest thing was in that battleship movie. It's like, hey, let's pull the battleship and do a 90-degree turn to fire at the aliens. So,
it worked.
Yeah.
It didn't rip the anchor chain off. So.
Yeah, like there's some rumors in this from the people like inside the movie I'm talking about where it's like, yeah, the Japanese took them down. We don't know what they did, but they can figure out. We can figure it out. So, again, that's just all rumor stuff. You know if that's true or not. So,
yeah, the Japanese get credit for things like that because in the book, Children of Men, which is very different from the movie. Interestingly, we're going to be talking about this soon, but it's in the book, it's implied because the world's very broken up in Children of Men.
Yeah.
But it's implied that, the Japanese figured out a way around fertility. It's like you can grow babies in like cloning tanks or something. But it's just a rumor, like nobody knows. He's talking to his cousin in the book is like a government minister who's way up. You only see it in the movie once, but yeah, they're always like talking about, there's different things going on in the world. It's like, the Japanese have figured this out. It's like, what about America? It's like, well, the Civil War, they've destroyed all their major cities. You can't get anything done there because they think what was it? What they say in the book? Was it because of abortion or homosexuality that like, God's punishing us and taking children away. So like America's just a complete disaster area in Children of Men. You can't even go there.
I never read the book, so I don't know.
The book's even more bleak and... Because in the book, quietus is not a suicide pill you take. It's that you go to the public pools that nobody uses anymore. And the people that are so old or into dementia that they can't take care of themselves, you drown them. And that's called a quietus session. P.D. James is like your ultimate British writer. It's like, this is going to be long-winded and super depressing and have a very ambiguous end. Much like the British Empire. It never ended, but it did. So, yeah.
I thought I had something else to say about this movie, but I can't remember it, so we'll just you can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There we have listener support. You can support us on a monthly site of 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. Cancel anytime. You can rate our podcast from whatever platform of choice. You can rate us whatever you want, but the only thing the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. So remember, give us the highest rating so we just pop up there for no good reason.
Yeah.
If you can't support us financially, support us through nefarious electronic likes.
If you're not going to give me money, just help me run a deception operation.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, or I guess X or whatever. I guess I'll call it Twitter until it dies. You can find us on Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on YouTube at American Grief Factory. You can watch both this and that show live and unedited. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.